What did the woman used to say, Minnie Pearl? Howdy! Live on iHeartRadio, it's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. And coming up, we're going to talk with Mike Quincy at Consumer Reports on SUVs you should avoid. Juicy. I got to drive the 2023 Ford Bronco Sport, and I'll give you my look at that. Later on, we're going to have Conrad talking about the cruise-in calendar and This Week in Auto History. And later, we talked with Ford F-150 marketing manager about the updated 2024 model that's just been displayed for all to look at. Plus, we'll also bring you the stories making automotive news headlines this week. It's all just ahead on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong, and we start this morning with the United Auto Workers strike that started. Let's see, Friday morning at midnight. Yeah. And a historic gambit. Nearly 13,000 hourly workers at 3 large assembly plants went on strike against the Detroit 3 early Friday in what UAW President Shawn Fain has framed as a righteous fight against the rich to get better wages and benefits for the working class. Never in the UAW's 88-year history has it attempted a simultaneous strike against Ford Motor Company, General Motors, and Chrysler, now part of Stellantis. Union plans to expand the work stoppage at yet-to-be-determined intervals to ratchet up pressure on the automakers. A novel tactic Fain has branded a stand-up strike to mirror the sit-down strikes of the UAW's early years. This story from Automotive News. The walkout will immediately halt production of profitable, high-demand vehicles, including the Ford Bronco, the Jeep Wrangler, and Chevy Colorado, and could have devastating ripple effects on suppliers, contractors, dealers, and the broader economy in the coming weeks. So we're going to keep an eye on that and give you all of the latest as aforementioned.
Yeah, hopefully we get to talk a little more about it later.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. I've got another story.
Without raising our voice and without being a little, just calm it down.
No, I have some notes I want to talk about.
Okay, well, that's just fine, but we're going to hold that for now.
Yes, sir. That's why I asked.
Please, okay.
Permission.
Consumer Reports is a very popular magazine, and they always have all sorts of things besides, their reviews of washing machines and all sorts
sewing
of
machines.
sewing machines.
I like sewing machines.
It's educational.
But I will tell you what, I think that they do a pretty good job on their automotive reviews and the research that they do on them. And
and they drive all of them.
Yeah, and they also have places for you and me to comment on the cars, especially if you own one of them. So
it
joining
runs
us,
like a singer.
that's it. So joining us now is Mike Quincy from Consumer Reports. Mike, good morning, and thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, and please don't ask me about sewing machines. I have no idea.
Well, I think I've driven one or two of them in my past a long time ago, but not any longer. But at any rate, this story that you guys have come up with caught my attention as well as Mr. Mars over there. And the story really is about the popular and not so popular or well-received or reviewed level, and your testing has proven some of these right on. And some of the most popular mid-size sedans, some of the most popular SUVs to avoid, and why. So I'll let you start. Where do you want to start?
Well, basically looking at this list and this story at consumerreports.org, we're looking at vehicles that did well in our testing, have average or better reliability, as well as good scores in our surveys for owner satisfaction. We also have a criteria for a vehicle to be recommended and to be kind of like on the buy list is standard automatic emergency braking at highway speeds, blind spot warning, and rear cross traffic warning. So, the standards are high, but you kind of set it up real well because there's a number of vehicles that are, air quotes popular, but that high sales does not necessarily mean that it's a good car.
Oh, and don't we know it? Yes, and we agree with you wholly. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you remember way back when the Chevrolet Cavalier was one of the top selling cars of all time? or at least for a whole bunch of, and it was a terrible car. So just because everyone bought it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good buy.
It was in the class of the Dodge Neon.
It means it has good marketing.
Yeah, good marketing, or it may be shaped just the right way, or offer the best colors and go, I really like that.
It had the biggest rebate as a percentage of price.
There you go.
That's what I was going to say. Probably heavily rebated and low cost, and that's what drives a lot of consumers' decision. It's solely based on cost, and at Consumer Reports, we're encouraging people to look a little bit deeper than just the monthly payment.
It had a good coefficient.
Yep, exactly. So let's talk about those vehicles that really they made the list, but not in a good way. Those vehicles to avoid.
Right, and we're going to start right out with the Jeep Grand Cherokee. This is a very popular two-row SUV, priced around $40,000 to $70,000. It returned about 20 miles per gallon overall in Consumer Reports testing, which is a bit below the average of this class. It has a decent 3.6 liter V6 engine, but in our tests we found the stopping distances were really long. And just to remind you and your viewers and listeners, Consumer Reports has its own test track, 327 acres in Connecticut, where we can do all of these instrumented testing. And so we can look at it in comparison with other SUVs. So really, the braking distances were part of the reason that it's on the avoid list. But even more so than that is below average reliability in Consumer Reports surveys. So there are other choices out there, and we encourage people to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, and one of them being over on the Ford side, and this kind of surprised me. You guys like the Ford Edge.
We do. And actually, one of the things that is notable about the Edge and a number of vehicles that have decent reliability is that the components have really been kind of fleshed out. If there's been any bugs going on with the Edge, whether it's the engine, transmission, or the general vehicle architecture, Ford's probably worked out the problems by then. So with about 22 miles per gallon overall, priced between like $38,000 and $47,000, the Edge is a very decent buy. I think that there's not a big demand for this vehicle, which is too bad because it rides well. It has a roomy cabin, above average reliability. And it really, if you haven't been in an Edge in a while, because it's been around a while, you should definitely check it out.
Well, I will say this, I had somebody yesterday, I got my hair cut. The lady that cuts my hair says, "Oh, I want that Chevy Blazer." Now, I don't know too many people that really say, I'll raise my hand for the new Chevy Blazer. When you think Blazer, you think back in the 70s and the 80s.
Square body.
This is not that.
No.
This is a crossover SUV, and you guys like it, and you put it under the radar, as you say.
Yeah, it isn't as popular as some of the other models. It gets about 19 miles per gallon overall with the V6 engine, which is just so-so. But, listen, Chevrolet can really get it together when they feel like it. The Blazer returned above average reliability in Consumer Reports surveys, which is, a real credit to how they're building this. Easy controls, pretty easy car to live with. And yes, you're right. All of us talking right now are of the era of the Chevy Blazer being the large truck-based and two-door model with the fiberglass cap and the back to take off and almost make it a convertible.
Yeah. And now those old things are coming back and more popular than they were when they were brand new. It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, they become collector cars where back in the day they were just the vehicle that you got in every day and went to work.
Well, here's a perfect example of that. That would be the Ford Bronco.
Yeah.
Remember when that came out in the 60s? Oh my gosh, it was just a little tin thing that is like, are you kidding?
And now they're worth 10 times what they were new back then.
A friend of mine in high school had one. His dad bought him one, an orange one with a white top.
Crazy.
Nothing in it.
Yeah, here's one that this one also surprised me. One of your 3 rows to avoid is the Ford Explorer. Now, this one, I think everybody at least knows somebody that had one if they didn't have one themselves.
Yeah, I think back in the 90s, Ford really hit a home run with the original Explorer. It helped to build the whole SUV wave that we've been riding for, over 20, 30 years or whatnot. But the current Explorer did not do well in Consumer Reports testing, about 21 miles per gallon overall, priced between about $37,000 and $56,000. We found that the Explorer got below average reliability in Consumer Reports surveys, and even more so than that, owners have reported also below average for satisfaction. So not only are they telling us about problems that they're having with their vehicle, they're also saying that we're not really crazy about it. And they don't always go hand in hand. For example, the Jeep Wrangler usually gets below average reliability, but owner satisfaction is always among the highest in our surveys. So it isn't necessarily, well, it's braking, so people don't like it. That's not always the case. So we would definitely say avoid the Ford Explorer.
The next one, the best three-row choice or better, and I find it interesting because you guys liked it and so did I. I just had it a couple of weeks ago, the Kia Telluride. Oh my gosh, I think that there's a ton of content in this vehicle for the price that they're asking for it, and I really liked it.
You know, once in a while, a car manufacturer just gets everything right.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is or how to describe it. I'm sure if you could bottle it and sell it to every car manufacturer, you'd be, richer than Jeff Bezos. But with Kia and the Telluride, you're absolutely right. Price between $36,000 and $53,000. It has about average reliability, which is not outstanding, but it's still good enough to be recommended by Consumer Reports. But the smooth V6 engine, 21 miles per gallon overall, the comfortable, quiet ride, and as you mentioned, you just hit the nail on the head. The interior is much nicer than you think it was. You sit in the Telluride and you think, wow, this must be like an $80,000 car.
Exactly. Yep.
You'd be surprised at just how much you're getting for your money. I love the Telluride, and it has been tops in Consumer Reports ratings for a number of years.
And it's to me, it's a larger of the SUV family. It's not one of the small ones.
Right. But it isn't hulking to drive. Whenever I drive the Telluride, I think it drives smaller than it is, if you get my drift.
Absolutely, and I'm right on there with you. As a matter of fact, I liked it so much, I'm using it in a magazine article that I just wrote for Bay Area Houston Magazine, and I put it in the article that also shares the Lincoln Navigator. I know it's a stretch, but I'm just saying, as far as, the price that you pay for a Navigator and then you pay for a Kia Telluride, I'm kind of leaning toward the Telluride.
Ford Explorer with what's left over.
Well, yeah, Ford Explorer, that's it. All right, and the under-the-radar three-row alternative would be the Subaru Ascent. I've not had a Subaru Ascent. Have you had one, Mike?
No.
Yeah, so I find it interesting that you guys really kind of like that.
Well, Subaru, as the expression goes, is like the vehicle of New England, or at least the Pacific Northwest or whatever.
Yep.
Because all but their sports car is standard all-wheel drive, so that goes a long way when the snow starts falling. But what we like about the Ascent is it's 22 miles per gallon overall, about average reliability and owner satisfaction. Four-cylinder turbo is pretty responsive. Handling is okay. I don't really find it that engaging to drive, but seeing that it's a three-row SUV, it's probably going to be more like a family vehicle, and maybe that's not high on your radar. But it's easy controls and just rock solid Subaru build quality is makes it easy to recommend. Priced around $34,000 to $48,000. Like I said, it is among the least engaging SUVs for me to drive, but it really has hit home with a number of owners because they like it.
And Subaru has what I call a fanatical fan base. They are the people who drive and own Subarus are very loyal to the brand.
Well, one of the things, Mike, that I wanted to mention is the fact that, back in the day when Subaru really got its mojo together, if you want to call it that, everybody at Subaru touted the fact, well, it's a flat four engine. It handles a lot better. We don't care about handling in an Ascent. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, I get it, with the engine certainly closer to the ground. Yeah, but it's more because who's going to race it? Nobody that I know of. And so, I mean, it works well. I guess that it's a pretty reliable engine, but that used to be a big thing, and now not so much anymore. Let's just talk about reliability, I think, is more atop of the list.
Well, one of the things I really like about Consumer Reports, you talked about you have your own test track. So everything you guys test is tested on the same facility. So the comparisons are equal. The vehicles might not be equal, but the road test comparisons are equal. So it's not a matter of, were you testing it that day and there was bad weather, or you were in heavy traffic for whatever reason. No, because you guys drive on that same test.
Because the criteria is all the same.
Yeah.
Right. We have a lot of lawyers working for Consumer Reports, and they say everything you do has to be defensible. And to make it defensible is when you're testing a group of cars, you do the acceleration runs on the same day. You do the braking tests on the same day. So all of the conditions are the same for all the cars. There's criteria for weather. If it's too cold, we won't test. If it's too hot, we won't test. If it's obviously raining, we can't do dry braking tests. So we're very dependent on the weather, but we have to make sure that the test is repeatable for every make and model.
Well, and you have to pay the attorneys.
Well, and the other big advantage you have in that, you don't have to worry about where the police are sitting whenever you go out to do that braking test or the acceleration test.
Well, it's on their track.
You don't have to
see, only Mr. Mars.
Well, you
would
have
come
to
up
work
with
around
that.
these
Yeah,
things.
he's trying. Yeah, he does the on-ramp acceleration
it's on a
test.
closed
is his
track,
excuse.
Mike.
Well, listen, I agree with Mr. Mars because we just got a Ford Mustang Dark Horse that we rented from Ford, and to let that pony breathe heavy, yes, we take it out on the track and just come back to our desks grinning like a fool and thinking this is better shot of adrenaline than a cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
Well, Mike, it's great to talk to you, and we really appreciate the insight into the popular SUVs to avoid and what to buy through consumerreports.org.
And we posted that on our Facebook and social media.
Thanks so much. I mean, we rely on people to support Consumer Reports so we can do the work that we do. Every member, every subscriber, every person that donates to the organization allows us to keep testing and to stay independent. And we really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys and getting the word out.
Keep on keeping on, Mike Quincy.
Next week is sewing machines.
Next week is sewing machines. We'll have you back.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, guys.
You bet. Take care.
How fun.
It is.
Always.
I need
they do a good
to be
job.
a substitute. Like when they go on vacation or something,
Guess
I need
what?
to go fill in
You
for
have
them.
to get behind me. Okay?
You got to go to Connecticut to do it.
That's all right.
I can do that when it's 60 degrees up
I
there.
was just going to say, it's beautiful weather.
About to get in the color
But
change.
and this is almost going to be a perfect morning for cruise-ins.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we don't have the events calendar. This is the cruise-in calendar. I have to underscore that. So, you know what the difference is? A cruise-in is where you cruise in, stay, talk to your friends, and show your car, and then you cruise out 2 or 3 hours later. That's how that works.
Have breakfast in between.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So this afternoon, starting at 11 a.m., cruising
That's this morning.
for Cure at the Wild Peach Market in Brazoria, Texas. There's a $20 entry fee, and that's all going to a good charitable cause.
Good.
Nifty 50s is tonight up off of Buckthorn Place, and it's the G-Body Bash. So they've invited all.
What's a G-Body?
Would be the
The Buick.
678 through 86 Oldsmobile Cutlass, Buick Regal, Grand National, Grand Prix, that size of rear-wheel drive GM midsize cars. So they should have a pretty good collection of those if you're into those.
If it doesn't rain.
The Buddha Car Show and Shine is at Cabela's in Buda, Texas this afternoon, starting at 6:30 p.m.
Buda. Wasn't it Buda?
It's Buda.
Is it Buda? I think it's Buda.
Buda. Okay.
I don't know.
Well, it's out near the Salt Lake Barbecue.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mars has got this smile on his face.
Well, I'm
I was
just
going to
thinking,
call it some sort of grin.
Buna. There's Buna, the little town above Silsbee. Is Buna, Buda. I mean,
There's Boudin.
just change the D to the N in
Boudin.
your ear.
Boudin, yeah.
Or
That's east.
Neaterville.
There you go.
The Cypress West Houston Vintage Car Meetup is at the Twisty Treat off of Fry Road.
Listen,
starting tonight
I've
at 7
considered
p.m.
myself a twisty treat.
Yes, you do.
And a Fry Road.
The Bluebonnet Street Riders Cruise-In is in College Station tomorrow, starting at 6 p.m. Also tomorrow, starting at 7 p.m. at Freddy's Steak Burger in Katy is an open cruise-in. And then the let's see, Park and Pizza at Mod Pizza in Katy, Texas.
Free
as
pizza?
well. No, I don't think it's free pizza, but that's it. Back to you, Don.
All right, thank you very much. Time now for this hour's car review. I had an opportunity to drive the 2023 Ford Bronco, and I'd like to thank the Ford Motor Company for allowing me to take this car from Chicago O'Hare Airport up to Janesville, Wisconsin, and back over a 3-day period of time. I was really impressed. Well, let's get into the review, shall we? Available trim levels are the Base, the Big Bend, the Heritage, the Outer Banks, the Badlands, and the Heritage Limited. The review trim level is the Sport Heritage Limited 4x4. This is a small SUV. I don't know how they classify small. I would consider it a midsize, but whatever. 5 passengers, including the driver. Exterior changes from last model year, none. It was all new in 2021. This is the same platform as the Ford Escape, okay? Same platform. It's been around for a number of years. They just put a different kind of body on it. Exterior features, paint options with trim levels. Now, the one that I had was a yellow body with white wheels and white grill.
It's like you, Don. It's a yellow body with gray hair and
perfect
pearly white teeth.
Yes.
And bloodshot eyes.
My cousin Steve made fun. He says, "Are you kidding me? You've rolled the windows down to let people see you inside of this car pulling into my driveway?" Well, I liked it. So there. Square upright body, unique lighting like the regular Bronco has on the front end, and actually the new F-150 mods are kind of in that same pattern, and it really does look good. Attractive lighting with short rear overhang. What I liked,
very much like you, Don.
Overall fun look. Listen, this is a beach buggy all the way. What could use improvement? Optional wide fender flares for big off-road tires. Just a thought. Hey, Ford, I'll give it to you for free. Okay, that idea. Interior highlights, sharp-looking dash with an infotainment pod and radio controls. Perfect instrument pod with configurable displays on it. GOAT mode goes over any terrain, makes off-road choices easy. Interior, well, the interiors range from basic to off-road to high-end with plenty of storage throughout. Cargo trunk room, large for its class. What I liked about it, the Sync 3 infotainment system with the 8-inch touchscreen worked great. 2-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder engine that boasts 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, that's not a lot of horsepower, but I will tell you, the 8-speed automatic transmission
keeps it in the sweet spot.
Oh, yeah, and it works well. Yeah. It's not a CVT. It's a real 8-speed. Tow rating, 2,200 pounds. So you can take your little garden trailer and take it to the garden house and bring some dirt back to the house with no problem. Miles per gallon, 21 city, 26 highway for a combined of 23. I got 25.8 miles per gallon over 258.4 miles. And it was perfect. Power is fit for off-roading. And what could use improvement is nothing. I drove, obviously, on the interstate highway between Chicago O'Hare and Janesville, Wisconsin, passing a closed Belvedere assembly plant that Stellantis closed a couple of years ago. And talk about a sad sight for a car guy to see this ginormous assembly plant that's been in business out there in Belvedere for quite some time, Illinois. It's sad. No cars in the parking lot.
Well, you said you also went to Janesville, which GM shut down the truck.
Not only did they shut it down, but they leveled it. Anyway, ride and handling. I did not take it off-road. I would have liked to, and I think it would do well off-road, actually. Nice cross between city and off-road in the handling department. What could use improvement? Just going to throw it out there. But jacks the price up, adjustability in the suspension, but
and it has that what I'll call that familiar look to the other Bronco.
Yes, it does.
You could tell that they are quasi sister.
And you've
vehicles.
suggested the suspension on other vehicles that you
I have,
too,
and
so
because it's out there and they can
it needs
make
to be
it
done.
But then that jacks the price up too
It's
much.
very expensive.
Yeah, to do. And so I don't know, for that mode to get into that sort of stuff, I don't know if it's worth that. Pricing, base trim price, $44,655. Prices tested, $46,250. They're the base model price. You can get into one for $29,215.
And it's a 2-row only.
It's a 2-row. Yeah, 2-row seating. Yep. Competitors, the Mazda CX-50 starts at $27,550. The Honda CR-V starts at $29,500, and the Subaru Outback starts at $23,995. So those are the competitors to it, and that is my review of the 23 Ford Bronco Sport. So I enjoyed it. Thanks again to Ford for allowing me to drive it up to Wisconsin. Hey, I want to remind you that the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In-Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com, and podcasts are available on over a dozen of the most popular podcast outlets available in the world. I added in the world.
In the world.
Mm-hmm. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break. Stay with us. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Lupi Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Lupi Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Lupi Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Lupi Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Lupi's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggieland? Head to the Lupi Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Lupi Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants invites you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In-Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In-Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Yes, it is the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show, and coming up, we'll speak with Brian Bell, the Ford F-150 marketing manager, about the updated 2024 F-150. Conrad has This Week in Auto History, and we'll get you caught up on the stories making car news this week. Howdy. Along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, we always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad that you could join us on this Saturday live broadcast.
And do a quick shout out.
Please.
Okay. I met a couple of young sales professionals this past week, a young lady by the name of Miriam and a young man nicknamed Ram. They work at a Subaru store here in Houston. Met them earlier this week. Young folks eager to go out and sell cars. So congratulations on that, and go sell something.
Go sell something. Good. Well, I think that F-150 the sales in that department have not waned any for 4 decades,
something like that.
Yeah.
Top of the heap.
Top of the heap. And for a reason. Ford manages to, when they do updates, they don't turn anybody off. They turn a lot of people on with the updates that they do. Man, I sure like that new 2024 that's coming out. Yeah, my 2022 has now got, 30,000 miles on it. I'm going to have to go buy me a brand new
I need a new one.
Yeah. So Ford is freshening the F-150 lineup for 24 and planning to double output of the hybrid variant as it seeks to maintain the truck's sales dominance. The updated pickup goes on sale early next year. It was revealed Tuesday ahead of the Detroit Auto Show. It includes freshened hybrid, Tremor, and Raptor variants with new design elements and improved tailgate functionality. And I don't want to steal any of his thunder. Let's just talk to him now. Brian, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the air, and I'm excited to be here. I'm also excited to hear you're ready for a new 24 model year F-150.
I'll bet you are.
Send it.
And I'm going to have to make a request. Can I make a request?
Of course.
Okay. I want the Dallas press fleet to be the very first to get a 2024 model, and I want me to get the phone call from you guys and go, we have it for you, come and get it. And so have it delivered to my house. I want to drive this immediately. Now, I understand that the 2024 model, this is just a refresh, if you will. The underpinnings are pretty much the same as they have been here in the past few years.
Yeah, we freshened the look of the truck, and we added some great new features and technology for our customers.
I want to talk about the tailgate.
Oh, of course, our new Pro Access tailgate. We are the most excited about that, right? I mean, we really pride ourselves in knowing how our customers use trucks, and when we wanted to look at the tailgate and said, how can we make it better for customers? We developed this tailgate with a swing door in the middle of it, so it works still as a traditional tailgate. Has this swing door that actually works when you're towing a trailer. So, if you look at our customers, about 75% of our customers tell us they tow trailers with their trucks. So it's an important thing for them. I mean, and I do, right, as well. So when you're towing that trailer, to have that swing gate that'll open up and work with that trailer so that you can get those items in and out. For me, it's the boat, right? I can get my boat gear, my coolers, things like that out of the tailgate without reaching over while I've got the boat on the back, right? We just think it's a really, really useful tool, another way to improve that F-150 to really help those customers.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the way that it works, and I know that there'll probably be lots of videos out there about how it works. Probably one already, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yep.
and we may run one here in just a second because I've got it off the Ford website.
Okay, very good. So that's one of the things. The other thing is that you guys are going to make some changes when it comes to engines. You're going to drop the 3.3-liter V6 and replace it with the 2.7-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder. Now, as an old car guy, you're going to go, wait a minute. First you go from a V8 to a V6, and now you're going to drop it down to a 4, but the 4-banger has more guts to it than the 6 did.
Well, just for clarification, our 2.7-liter EcoBoost is a V6.
Oh, it is.
We have a competitor that might have a 2.7 with a 4-cylinder. Ours is a V6, and you're right, it produces 400 horsepower or 325 horsepower, 400 foot-pound of torque, right? So it's a torque monster engine, and we're really excited to make that the standard engine for the truck, thinking it's going to be great for those customers.
A 2.7-liter V6 EcoBoost.
Yeah.
Well, Go ahead.
It's a phenomenal motor. It really, when people drive it, they just they love it, right? It does so many things well.
And the other thing that I understand that you guys are going to actually have the Platinum Plus replacing the limited top trim model.
Yeah. So we took that limited. It's been around a long time, and it's a great series for us. But there's some confusion on the name and the showroom, and so we thought it was a great opportunity to kind of to pull all that luxury vehicle up under one name and have it be Platinum in our showroom with the Platinum and then the Platinum Plus package on it. To kind of help customers and help build that Platinum brand up.
And you guys are actually really pumping up the hybrid, I understand.
Yeah, so hybrid's a real advantage for us. I mean, we call it the and solution powertrain, or I like to think of it as the ultimate and solution powertrain. It's got power and fuel efficiency and pro power on board, right? So the no other gas vehicle in this segment has that capability to have a mobile generator with them. And so you can take up to 7.2 kilowatts of power with you anywhere you go. And we hear such great stories from all over the place about how people are using their Pro Power on board system. We actually last week heard about a dentist up in Maine that has a mobile dentist office. They take it to very rural communities and give free dental work to people that need it. And they used to have to take trucks with their generators and gas cans and things to power it. They now just have a Power Boost hybrid that pulls their mobile dental trailer. And they power that whole mobile dental trailer with Pro Power on board, right?
They get your teeth fixed.
It's curb service.
We hear about things like that, and there's so many stories about saving weddings, and of course the outages in Texas where the Pro Power on board, the Power Boost help people, and so we're really excited to kind of help spread this technology even farther. So we're planning to double our mix of the engine, and we're drop the price by $1,900 to do that. So it's actually the same price as our 3.5 EcoBoost engine now.
That's impressive. Yeah. Well, you have to stay number one, and the way to do that is doing these updates and changes that goes with the market at the time.
Yeah, we've been the truck leader for 46 years. And again, like I said, we really pride ourselves on learning the customer and knowing how they use their truck and trying to help them get more use out of it. We think of the truck as a tool, right? People that buy a truck, they need a truck to do truck things. It's a tool for them. We want to make it the best tool in your toolbox.
Well, now wait just a minute. Not everybody uses their truck for work down here in Texas. It's all about the look, my friend.
There are
I see that smile on his face
for appearance, but when you look at our usages, even those folks that buy it, once they have a truck, they find uses for it, right? They learn how useful a truck can be. I like to think of it as the perfect vehicle. It does everything well, right?
Well, that's why you sell so many of them. And let's face it. I mean, the back seat of the 4-door. I mean, it might as well be in a limousine.
It's just as comfortable, right? All the room, leg room, ride comfort, quiet, it's everything you need.
Now, for all of those tech guys, I understand that you guys have bumped it up to the 5G LTE modem.
We have. So we put some technology in the truck as well. We've standardized the 5G LTE modem in the truck so that when we get those over-the-air updates, they'll be faster and quicker. And if you use the truck as a Wi-Fi hotspot to power up to your 10 devices, it'll, of course, give you faster service for that. But we also added some other new technologies to the truck. We standardized our great 12-inch touchscreen all the way through the lineup. We've got the new Blue Cruise coming that'll actually do lane change assist. We put a heads-up display in the truck so people don't have to look down. And in our heads-up display, you can actually have different views. If you're towing a trailer, if you're going off-road, we changed the views in it to really be helpful to you. Right? So we put some other new technology in the truck as well.
Well, go ahead, Mr.
I like heads-up displays. I mean, I love them, and the fact that you're putting even more information up there to me is just wonderful.
And the trailer view is a great idea as well, because if you're pulling a trailer, how many times do you look over your shoulder and take your eyes off the road to make sure you're in the right position?
Or maybe I'll make sure that the trailer's still back there.
Been known to do that.
Yes, I have too.
Was that my trailer that just
passed me by? Yeah. Wait a minute. What's that going off into the ditch? Oh, that's my trailer. Yeah, there are those kinds of things. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Blue Cruise technology, the hands-free.
Sure.
I've had some experiences with the hands-free driving, and I will tell you that A lot of it has to do with the markings on the road, and if the markings on the road aren't there, you could get into trouble pretty quick.
So, I've driven quite a few miles with it, and you're right. Sometimes the markings on the road thin, but the truck tells you to grab onto the steering wheel. It comes along very quickly and helps you pay attention. And, when you use Blue Cruise, there's a camera that watches your eyes to make sure you're paying attention to the road. And so my experience with it on long trips is I think I pay better attention than even without it, right? You're watching the road, the truck's making sure you do. But at the same time, when you get to your destination 10 hours later, you're not nearly as tired or exhausted. You're fresher through that trip. And I was surprised by that the first time I used it from St. Louis to Detroit, how that feeling was with me. And now we're making it even better, right? So that we've improved it, works with even more roads. It changes lanes for you. And it has better lane centering. So we're continually improving that technology as well.
I want to ask you about where the truck is being built, and is the UAW strike going to affect the delivery of the 24 for the spring?
So the F-150s are built at our Dearborn assembly plant and an assembly plant in Kansas City, and at this point, the plant that the union is striking is a different assembly facility, so it doesn't impact F-150. But I know we got great people on both sides of that trying to work through it, and hopefully they get to an agreement soon.
Yeah. Is it the Rouge plant that the truck is being built?
Yeah, the old Rouge plant in Dearborn. Yep.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. But you guys have other assemblies for the F-150. I mean, you can't make them all in one place. It's too many.
We make them also in Kansas City. We've got a fantastic facility down there, our Kansas City assembly plant.
I've actually got a segment coming up about plants, so
there you go.
Lead right into it.
That's good to know. Okay, so let's talk about delivery to the dealer.
Yep. So they'll come out to dealers the first part of next year. We're taking orders now. The order banks are open. You can go on Ford.com on our build and price and spec out what you're looking for, and go to your dealer and order it. And then they should be in showrooms first part of next year. Now,
doing my homework here, somewhere I read the fact that you've kind of cut back on some of the individual orders as far as, the individual things that are available to order, and you've packaged them up to make it simpler to buy.
Yeah, so F-150 has been a fairly complicated vehicle for our customers to order. So we spent quite a bit of time these last couple of years really trying to make it easier for them. We still got a great full lineup all the way from our Work Truck XL all the way up to the Platinum Plus and, of course, Raptor and Tremor, right? So we've got the full lineup. We're just making it simpler for those customers to order. So an example is Raptor now is down to 6 ways to order it. Really, really easy to order. And we've reduced complexity across our lineup by over 90%.
Well, I'll never forget when I first started doing this many years ago with reviews and that sort of thing. I talked to one of the guys that handles the press, and I said, "So how many options are there?" And he said, "Well, there are so many that I can't even count them all, because if you really want to get down to it, you can change axle ratios, transmissions, all of these different things that you can customize for your truck." And that's what makes it really unique, especially for the guy that's using the truck for work.
But I think on the assembly side of things, simplifying the build has proven increasing the quality. Because when you don't have so many choices to make, everything's consistent in how it's put together.
It really, simplifying it really benefits all the parties involved. We're going to make it a lot easier for customers to go in and spec out their truck. Of course, we're going to make it easier to engineer and manufacture by simplifying it. And we're also making it easier for dealers to stock, right? So when dealers stock that inventory, it's tough for them to figure out what to stock. So really all parties involved are going to benefit from this. And we used a lot of data to kind of help decide what features went together. We also had dealers help us. It's been a long project to make sure we did it right. And like I said, customers can go see that now on Ford.com. We still have a full line of accessories on there that they'll see as well. So,
Brian, do you know Mike Levine?
Of course I do.
Do you? Well, Mike used to be down here in Texas. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hey, Mike.
Don.
We love Mike Levine, and listen, when we get to see Mike Levine, which is rare because he's become a superstar among the press. It's always good to give him a nudge or give him a hard time.
Oh, Mike's fantastic. I was actually working for the company when he was a journalist, and got interviewed by him numerous times, and then getting to work with him, he is fantastic. He's so full of energy and great ideas, and it doesn't get any better than Mike.
Yeah, so. He is definitely full of energy. Yeah.
And here's the famous Mike Levine line. Well, we don't talk about future product. That's the famous line. Yeah. So he's gone to the other side, and now he knows the lingo. That's for sure.
So he is full of it.
Well, yeah, there's that. Anyway. So we can order them now. They're going to be in dealerships in the spring, you say?
Yeah, first part of the year. After the first of the year, they'll start to show up in showrooms.
Okay, very good. Well, one of the things that I was doing my research here, and I get online and I start looking at all of the stuff that's available and the changes. The grill seems to change with the trim level. Was I out of my mind when I noticed that?
No, we actually have... From our XL, STX, and XLT and Tremor, they use what's called our new coast-to-coast grill, where the grill actually goes around the headlamps, and it has we're standard LED headlamps in the truck, and those headlamps have like an orange signature light in them. And then our Lariat, King Ranch, Platinum, and Raptor have a more traditional kind of, a stand-up grill that has also a new grill, a new headlamp that's got our white signature lighting and the C-clamp design. So we really tried to... when you sell this many trucks and you have the kind of the series, we try to help differentiate it and give some different looks. And frankly, that new coast to coast grill that's going to be on our highest volume, it looks fantastic. It's got a bit of a retro feel to it from that 80s kind of 90s truck in there, and then at the same time, it's just got this really strong, wide, powerful stance. And then of course our high end grills look really really premium and draw out that tradition that customers are used to the last few years with our C-clamp signature lighting design.
Yeah, well, you guys did a great job in that regard, and we sure appreciate you talking to us today, and please forgive me if I offended you in any way. But I was kind of surprised at the 2.7 being a V6 and not a four-cylinder.
Yeah, we launched it, the engine launched as a 2.7 V6 in 2015, and it's been a big part of our lineup. And of course, we've improved it over the years, and now standardizing it, making that the standard engine with all that capability. Right, it's got great performance, great horsepower, torque numbers, great fuel economy for customers. We really think it's a really good move to make that the standard powertrain in the truck for those customers.
Anybody, anything else?
No, I think it makes sense on the V6 because to me that's where you're going to get a little more torque, like you're talking about. You're getting a lot more torque out of that than you would like an inline four. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
400 foot-pounds, and you get it, of course, with the technology in it, that twin turbo direct fuel injection. It's that torque curve comes out very quickly, so you get that torque really, really fast.
And that's important to the truck buyers because I would think there are some truck buyers that would be a little less excited about a four-cylinder versus a V6. They're going to want, the more power available.
Well, that's because of the torque thing and the whole idea behind towing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Brian, it's great to talk to you, and we sure appreciate you taking the time out of your Saturday to talk to us.
No, I appreciate you having me on. Let me talk about the new 24 model F-150. Again, anybody wants any information, go to Ford.com. We've got all the information there that they can find about the truck.
And be sure already posted it on our social media for you.
And be sure and tell Mike Levine we said hello.
I will do that right now.
All right, brother. Take care.
Have a great Saturday.
You too. All right. Time now on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show for Conrad's This Week in Auto History.
Well, I thought an important person in time in the automotive history. It was 35 years ago that legendary auto designer Bill Mitchell passed away in 1988. And if you look at his history, he started with a 1949 Cadillac, with the origination of tail fins. And then actually he moved on to the Corvair Monza SS, which doesn't look like a what you think a typical Corvair. I actually think there's a lot of Opel GT in that.
Right.
Corvette.
Well,
Corvette.
Yeah. And then, you mentioned Corvette. He was involved in the Corvette Special Racer, which was the race car Corvette for the 63 Corvette. And then he was also the designer of the 63 Corvette split window. And the split window was very controversial. Zora didn't like the split window, but Mitchell loved it because of the design of it. He thought it was very, very important.
Well, wasn't one of the main reasons is they couldn't get the glass to go totally across?
The glass
technology
hadn't advanced.
Right.
And then in 64 they did. They took the split out of it. Mitchell also had a 1966 Oldsmobile GT two-seater built, which was, big 425 front-wheel drive two-seat Oldsmobile, which I thought was kind of a cool thing. And then in 66, he did a Corvair GT as well. Again, his involvement in the Corvair side of things. Mitchell was also the designer of the original Corvette Mako Shark from 1967. Well, that's the 65 Riviera.
We saw it. It went by.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then and Mitchell, his love of the Buick brand, and he did a lot of the different Rivieras through the years. And that was always one of my favorite, the little boat tail on the Riviera, which was kind of an iteration of the Corvette rear glass as well. And then he did the Astro 1, the Astro 2, and the Astro 3, which are all considered design studies of future Corvettes.
I need that chair. Look at that chair. Isn't that awesome? It's got a Cadillac logo on it. Christmas is coming.
So, and then, also Mitchell did the 1970 Camaro. And the 1970 actually it lasted through 81 Camaro were all a bit of Mitchell designs. That's the Manta Ray Corvette that he did as well. And then the final thing was the 1977 Pontiac Phantom, which was his final design, was the Pontiac Phantom. He was involved in the Monte Carlos as well, the 70, 73 Monte Carlos, which I always thought was the start of that personal luxury car, the Grand Prix Monte Carlo, that whole generation. This is the Phantom. If you look at the Phantom, Mitchell had a very retro view of things. The red inside fenders, which is a retro thing out of a 50s model Buick. And you look at the nose on that Phantom, and you can definitely see the Pontiac family to it. Very, very famous person within car design. He'd worked with Harley Earl in his early season at General Motors, and then ran GM Design later in his life, and huge impact on automotive design through time.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Of course, the big story today in the news is the UAW strike at the Detroit 3, and we're going to talk more about that at the top of next hour. In the meantime, and in between time,
all right,
we have the recalls. Not a lot of them, but inoperative rear turn signals on the Subaru BRZ and the Toyota GR 86. Rear view camera image may not display on several Kias, the Sorento Hybrid, and the Sorento PHEV for 22 and 23. The Audi e-tron GT and the RS e-tron GT, insufficient sealant on the high voltage battery. That's not good.
No. It's electrifying.
And I think every Taycan from Porsche is being recalled for 2023. And I'm going to list them all here, but insufficient sealant, again, on the high voltage battery, clearly sharing it with the Audi e-tron.
Right. So, all $100,000 plus cars.
Yeah. So I know that we have a lot of listeners that have $100,000 plus cars.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you agree?
George
does. Yeah, he definitely has a $100,000 car. U.S. market share for electric vehicles rose to 7.2% in January to July period, according to new vehicle registration data from Experian, with Tesla spurring demand with escalating price cuts throughout the year. New U.S. EV registrations rose to 655,000 in the 7-month period, for a 67% rise over the year earlier period when EV share was 4.9%. Total new light vehicle registrations for the 7 months are about 9.1 million. So you can see in comparison, it's really kind of tiny if you look at the overall.
Yeah, and if you took away the government subsidies for EVs, I imagine the market share would fall.
Yeah. Tesla outweighs them all, 59.5% share of the EV market. All of the rest of them are in the single digits or less. Mm-hmm. So, they're getting there, but it's going to take a long while. And I think that there are a lot of reservations about diving into owning an EV.
Well, if you kind of watch, if you watch the news this week, Pete Buttigieg was fussing about he couldn't get his EV car charged.
Yeah,
somewhere because I guess somebody had parked in front of the charger on him.
No, that wasn't him. It was his secretary. It wasn't him at all. It was the lady.
Secretary of Transportation or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, but they were making a big deal about taking this EV road trip, and they got burned.
Yeah.
Not literally, but
cops called it.
No, I mean, literally. They ran into a lot of issues with chargers not working, stuff that we run into all the time now.
And we talk about all the time.
Yeah,
they had an ice car parked in a electric spot to reserve it for her.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that I drove through the Whole Foods parking lot where my famous EV charger is. It's all rusted. This is an EVgo, okay, charging station. It's all rusted. It looks like it's been there for decades, and then it doesn't work.
Wow!
And one time I went there, and it didn't work. So
it's at a Whole Foods, no less.
I know, of all places. Well,
go to Walmart.
So the government's going to spend billions of dollars upgrading all of these charging stations at your expense.
Yeah. Well, yes. Well, there's a lot of things that they do at my expense that I'm not
force you to do something you don't want.
Time now for a quick break. We'll be right back here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Stay with us. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Lupi Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Lupi Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Lupi Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Lupi Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Lupi's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggieland? Head to the Lupi Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Lupi Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants invites you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWillTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. From the Sugar Shack World Headquarters, it's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we hope to have Hannah Mischenko with Zootobi.
All right.
With DUI information. You'll hopefully hear where Texas fits in that. We can still do the story without her, but I'd like to have her with us. Jeff has a segment on the top producing auto assembly plants in the U.S. Conrad has the racing calendar and the car clinic. And later we'll have a couple stories making automotive news headlines this week, outside of the big headline, which is the UAW strike that started on Friday. Just ahead, here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world on my phone, Mars. We always need more Jeff Zekin. King Conrad DeLong.
And you are?
Nobody. Absolutely nobody. I'm just here filling a spot. That's all. I've elbowed my way in here, and somehow somebody let me in.
It's your garage, so we got to let you talk.
Don's garage.
Don's garage.
Yeah. And it's actually not a garage.
No.
It never has been.
No.
There's not a hole big enough to put a car through.
Nope. It's purpose built for studio.
It is. Yeah. A rehearsal studio, actually, is what this was for a band.
A rock band?
A kid band, yeah. A garage band, so to speak. At least that's what we used to call them back in my day.
Yeah, we're getting the band back together.
Yeah, we're putting the band back together. So the UAW strike. Shall we talk about that?
Might as well, because our guest is not going to be able to join us.
Why not?
Make something up.
Force majeure is what it says.
What does that mean?
Beats the heck out of me.
It's a word that I don't know how to pronounce, and I don't really know the complete definition of it.
So it started with the UAW demanding a 40% pay increase.
Yeah.
And now they've settled for a 36% pay raise.
I thought it was down to 18.
No.
No.
36% pay raise. And the automakers have countered with an 18 and a 20% pay raise.
Now, let me ask you this.
Years.
If you go to your boss and you said, I want a 36% raise, and I demand it, otherwise I'm going to go on strike. You know what they'd say? Hit the road, Jack.
Well, and to a degree they are, because, you got to remember now, they are striking select plants at Ford, GM,
To
and
begin with,
Stellantis
yes.
To begin with. Now, you know why they do that, right? Because all the other workers who are still paying their union dues because they're paid are funding the strike fund, because the employees, the union members who go out on strike, the union has some pay that gives those people money. So if they all strike at once, then the strike fund gets depleted. So now what they're doing is this selective strike. Well, funny thing is, Ford and GM are slowing down some plants and doing some layoffs at some plants as well. And that's going to, I bet you, impact the funding of the strike fund. So, mess with me, mess with you kind of thing is what I believe is going on. Ford's...
See, I never thought that, but yeah, it makes
Ford
sense.
is closing down and shutting down the Chicago, the Kansas City, the Kentucky truck plant, and the Louisville plant, and then GM is shutting down the Fort Wayne truck plant due to trying to manage high inventories at the dealerships. Because right now, if you want a white truck, that's all the dealerships have are white trucks.
Isn't that ironic that they're not the big three? They're the Detroit three, because you got Lexus, Toyota, Honda that will just suck them up in all of their profits. So good for them. I hope they fire them all.
And none of them are UAW. The Toyota, the Subaru, the BMW, the Mercedes assembly that goes on here in the United States.
How about Tesla?
Are not, and Tesla is
There you
not
go.
UAW.
No.
So what GM is, what they're doing, what the UAW is doing, and I think it's a huge mistake on their part, they're going to force customers to go buy some of these other brands.
Good.
And once they do, they're never going to come back to GM, Ford, and Chrysler once they get a taste of the other brands, whether it's the style, design, quality, and such. Doubtful that they're going to come back. So, the UAW's cutting their nose off to spite their face. I understand some of their reasons to strike is they want a pay raise. If you look at it, the CEO pay went up 40% over the last couple of years. All three of them are making over $20 million a year.
What does an auto worker make nowadays? More than anybody else.
And all of them make the same. Doesn't matter if you push a broom or if you're measuring the piston size per cylinder.
Right.
Whatever level of knowledge you have, they all make the same.
And what other job category makes that money?
Nobody. But they're looking for the new pay raise that they're asking for. The average auto worker is going to make $300,000 a year, and they're also asking for a 32-hour work week.
I'll take $300,000 a year
on a 32-hour work week versus
32-hour work week. So so it's a 40% increase in pay and a 20% reduction in work. Well, sign me up as well.
How's that going to translate to how much a car is going to cost?
And the funny thing, the other thing I look at it is, they're complaining that the worker pay has only gone up by 6% over the last 4 years. Hey, UAW, you know who negotiated that contract? Fane negotiated the contract for the last 4 years that only gave you 6%. So now you've got this guy is trying to negotiate you a 40% pay raise. I think you are stepping in something that you're not going to be able to shake off your shoe. My personal opinion, because they're going to force people to go buy other vehicles, and they're never going to come back.
Have you ever been in a union?
No.
Yes.
Mars has.
You're a sheep. You're just a sheep. That's all you are.
Yeah. And they talk about how much the CEOs are making that are running the corporations, and I do endlessly to the point of driving.
I'm going to join a union. It's going to be great. No, they got into it. Let them suffer.
Nobody talks about how much Fane is making, because I think he's making over $3 million a year. And what does he do? Not a damn thing.
Full-time union president. $3 million a year. But the CEO pay is not. That's contracted. That's negotiated. The board is negotiating that. It's not like a worker that works under a contract, or even just a manager that's working salary. That's all contract negotiated. So the fact that the board wants to pay him $20 million is irrelevant to what they're talking about, because there's no connection to it.
But
the board could say, we're not going to pay him we're not going to pay the CEO anything for the next 2 years because we want to save that money. That would have no impact on the employees that are working under the contract.
I agree, but that is one of the points the UAW continues to bring up.
Every union does. Every time our union always did that. It was like, they make so much money and they got so much land. Well, that's the board. And, there's nothing you can do about that. You can sit there and say, we want our share. Well, then you're going to have to take the good with the bad. I even heard that on some commentators.
You just said
whenever the market falls and the company like Ford's lost $3 billion working on EVs. Well, you don't see any.
They've lost $6 billion.
Well, you don't see any UAW people taking a cut in pay to make up for that loss.
You just said it. The board, the shareholders are the ones that vote them in. And who are the shareholders? Some of those shareholders are workers. Now, if they're voting those people in, it's like anything else.
That's right. They vote the board in, and then the board turns around and
then they go, "Oh wow, what was me?
Because your vote counts, and when you vote morons in ahead of you, you get morons leading you.
Just look at the federal government.
Whose fault is that?
Exactly.
People that work for them. There you go.
But if you're making $200,000 plus a year, you're not going to want to get rid of anybody that's going to start cutting your pay.
I was 18 years old. In a union, working in a factory, making $38 an hour, and then you get all your bennies on top of that. 18 years old back in the 70s. Unheard of.
And look at you now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty. But it's
But that's the
ridiculous.
point.
It was even ridiculous back then. Now, I didn't vote any of these people in, but I was expected to
weren't-
vote the way they wanted you to vote in a contract or with the union.
But you're
I never did that.
$38 an
Well, but-
hour.
and you didn't want to vote them out because you didn't want to lose your $38 an
I don't
hour.
think I ever voted. I don't think I ever voted in a union election.
I'll bet you voted every time. You just didn't know it.
No, well, that's true too. I didn't sign a ballot or submit a ballot, but yeah, someone probably did for the people that don't.
Well,
vote.
they could put a serial number on every dollar bill. You'd think they could put a serial number on a ballot.
That's
But no,
that's
I
another
understand
story.
what you're saying because whenever our union, I got out of our union probably 3 or 4 years before I got promoted into a salary position for that very same reason that, they made our local president, a full-time employee. So this guy no longer had to work. All he had to do was go to the union hall, sit around there and listen to people
Collect
whine
a
and
check.
complain about stuff. And I bailed. I mean, unions do some good stuff, but I'm one of those people that think they've outlived their primary use.
I actually received a dues check after I moved to Texas and everything, for a substantial amount of money that they reimbursed me some of my dues.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for you.
But you can't not pay the dues. If you're a member of the union, your
They take
salary,
it out of your, they take it out
If
of your
you're a
check,
member,
right?
yes.
Right. You would have to be a member to work in the plant. It's not like Texas a right to work state. You're
Well,
going to go. In
that's true.
fact, the pictures I got of the plants coming up, one of them was the Fort Street plant that my dad worked at, my brother and I worked at. It's in the middle of the shots, but I'll bring it up.
and now Ford is also restarting 4 assembly plants in Mexico. UAW. I don't think UAW is in Mexico.
No.
No,
So-
but maybe Abbott could send some buses to Detroit.
Car haulers.
help
bring
out?
the car haulers. We're going to fill up the car
You know,
haulers.
there's a
and
CAW, there's a Canadian Auto Workers, and a UAW, which is American Auto Workers.
United Auto Workers.
But they represent the American employee, but I don't think there's a Mexican UAW. So the corporations are going to play the game, and
It's the Arriba Union.
And as the UAW is going to strike, the corporations are going to look for ways to impact the strike fund.
Okay.
Pockets of the
so the UAW goes on strike. You got Stellantis, Ford, General Motors. What about all the vendors, all the
Peripheral.
suppliers, all of those folks that have a livelihood as well? They're not making the 44% increase. They're producing a widget that they use.
Right.
Now, they're not getting any of that. Now, some vendors are UAW. They're part of the union as well, but there's only a select few. There's only so many.
Well,
If there's no plants working to take those widgets that
Yeah.
they're building,
Yeah.
then they're losing too.
Oh, yeah. That's
and
that's the
they
whole
have
point of it.
they have no expectation. I mean, obviously, if you
They
go
have
out
no
on
voice.
strike, you're not going to get your money back. Particularly at that hourly rate, you're not going to 15, 20, 30% raise. It's going to take you forever to get your money back. But those guys that supply the widgets to them that are losing, they're not going to ever get a chance to catch it back.
Well, we talked about it last week, is the peripheral people, the guy that owns the bar across from the plant, the grocery store in the community, the manicurist. By the way, I have a pedicure today. The manicurist that's in the community as well, they're all impacted when these people go on strike and they're not working anymore. They're not spending any money.
Yep.
So it's a big, huge impact on the economy. On top of the fact of the inflation rates we have, they talk about inflation's going down, but inflation compounds itself year after year. Last year it was 9%. Well, this year it's 3%, but it's 3% on top of the 9%. They say the state of Michigan's consumer price index over the last 2 years is up 17%. And the unions, they're not keeping pace with their 6% contract that Thane negotiated for them 4 years ago. So, who's to blame that your contract isn't keeping up with the cost of living?
So my brother worked at the Janesville assembly plant for General Motors. That the actual plant itself started in 1919 as a tractor factory. General Motors bought the tractor factory. Ultimately, that tractor factory went belly up, and GM started building cars and trucks there. I was driven by it a couple of weeks ago when I visited up there. Where it was, they tore it down and donated all of the land to the city of Janesville. The problem is that there is some ugly stuff that's in the dirt where that 1919, you got a bucket of oil, just go out there and throw it out in the back. So they've got to, if the city is ever going to do anything with this massive piece of property in Janesville, it's got to get cleaned up, which will cost multiple millions of dollars. So GM said, okay, well, we'll just tear it down and you can do whatever you want with it. And there's a big, fence around it now. But to your point about the ancillary support people that supply the assembly plant.
The bar and the grocery store.
Yeah, and there it happens to be, and they drove me by this bar. And the bar is still there. I don't know how it stays in business, but it's this little bitty rinky-dink bar that's on the back end of the assembly plant. There's also a garage over there. There you can see where all of these
certain things were placed. Yeah.
Yeah. The people that worked in these ancillary businesses that had nothing to do with the car industry other than serving the people that worked there. Thousands of them. And over the decades, you can imagine probably millions of people that worked there at one point or another, because it was a very large, old assembly plant. Being built in 1919, you can just imagine what it looked like. But it's a real shame to drive by something like that, because besides what they made, it was a place that people made their living. It was influential on the entire cities. Yes, absolutely. And so when I drove by the Belvedere assembly plant that Stellantis has, it's in mothballs right now on the side of the freeway between Chicago and Janesville, Wisconsin. There's nothing there. I took pictures of it. Huge parking lots where the actual employees park. Nothing. I think they have one security guard there looking at the gate. That's about it. It's truly a sad thing when a factory like that shuts down, and I would imagine that
possibly more will.
Yeah,
because of this strike. As the domestic market share falls, they don't have the need for as many assembly plants, which is what's driven some of the closures already.
Well, I wanted to read this story. This is from Automotive News. The Detroit Three, who went on strike early Friday, don't churn out the full-size pickups and SUVs that generate the automaker's biggest profits, nor do they build the engines or transmissions needed to keep other factories humming. Instead, the UAW's unprecedented walkout against GM, Ford, and Stellantis targeted 3 assembly plants, where a shutdown won't make too big of a dent in the bottom line, at least for now. The plants make Chevrolet's 9th biggest seller, the Colorado midsize pickup, Ford's number 4 utility vehicle, and number 3 pickup, the Bronco and Ranger, and the Jeep Wrangler, an SUV that dealers aren't expected to run out of for nearly 3 months. The plants, Wentzville Assembly in Missouri for GM, Michigan Assembly near Detroit for Ford, and Toledo Assembly in Ohio for Stellantis, employ about 13,000 hourly workers, or roughly 9% of the UAW's membership at the Detroit 3. The strategy will have an immediate effect on vehicle production at those plants and on the suppliers that sell to them, but so far it only deals a limited blow to the automaker's overall U.S. operations. That could change quickly, though, as the union is saving firepower to escalate the strike and ramp up pressure on the automakers if negotiations fail to reach a resolution soon. UAW has a strike fund of $825 million and at estimated costs of $8 million per week. A strike could last for more than 100 weeks, according to Wells Fargo research published Friday. The 3 plants that went offline Friday accounted for an estimated 11% of the Detroit 3 light vehicle production in 2022, according to the report. Some dealers were not immediately worried. Texas dealer, Houston dealer, Stephen Wolf, who owns Helfman Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Houston, said he had expected the union to strike. The stoppage in Toledo would need to last around 45 to 60 days before Wrangler and Gladiator inventories become a problem at his store.
So they're basing the strike on the amount of money they have in the bank.
In the strike fund, yes.
Mm-hmm. So if we running low on that, the strike ends.
But, well, not necessarily. They could run out of money, and the people on the line that's striking, they might not get a paycheck. That's happened in the past, too.
Yeah, well, and the other thing that could happen is the federal government could fund it. They're talking about, what is it, the writer's strike in California right now. The state of California is thinking about paying those people unemployment. Well, I could easily see the federal government doing the same thing for these people out on strike.
All right, time to change directions here on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Let's talk about the race card. Racing season is beginning to wrap up.
Yep, wind it down.
Erica is currently qualified number 1 in Pro Stock in the current drag race.
With a 6:49, which is just tremendous time. She's the only one in the 640s. That's Maple Grove this weekend, NHRA. You'll be able to see it on Fox Broadcast and FS1. Bristol night races tonight, which is always good. Bristol being a short track, they'll be pushing each other around, and no doubt tempers will flare. Next weekend, NASCAR will be at Texas, and then October 1st, they'll be at Talladega. Formula One this weekend is in Singapore, and then next weekend they're in Japan. IMSA is at the Indianapolis Road Course, the old F1 course. So the Cadillac DPIs, the Corvette and stuff will all be at Indianapolis this weekend.
Cool.
And then IndyCar finished. They had their Laguna Seca, and they're done for the season.
Wow, must be nice. All right.
Shame.
By the way, the In-Wheel Time race card is sponsored by Texas Nostalgia Modified Production.
Cool.
We were talking about assembly plants a minute ago and the strike and everything, but when the assembly plants are up and running, Jeff has a feature on the top producing assembly plants
I've
in
got
America.
the top 6 due to time. There's several others. You could go top 10, top 15, but I did this just because of that, because of the lead-in article and the gentleman from Ford and all that good stuff. So let's get this going. And the number 6 is a General Motors plant. Now, none of these photos have anything to do with what we're talking about, so they're just random shots. General Motors plant in Fort Wayne is a Roanoke, Indiana plant. They produce 307,454 cars. Fort Wayne is the busiest General Motors plant in America and is responsible for the company's 2 large pickup trucks, which would be the GMC Sierra and the Chevrolet Silverado. It is a 2.85 million square foot factory, and it opened in 1986.
Do you know how many square feet that is? You can't stand at one end of the factory and see the other end when you're inside of it.
And it's relatively automated. There's a lot of computer stuff
Number
going
5
on.
is Toyota, Georgetown, Kentucky, 315,889 cars. Toyota has long manufactured many of its cars in America, including the top-selling Camry, the midsize. The Camry is assembled at the Toyota plant. It's 7.5 million square foot plant in Georgetown.
Huge.
Yeah, it's the largest plant outside of the one in Japan. Now, that's the Fort Street plant. That's where my dad worked. That's where I worked. That's where my brother worked.
Is it still there?
It's leveled. It's gone. But this is the one that we're talking about now. Number 4 is the Nissan North America in Smyrna, Tennessee. 333,392 vehicles. Smyrna is one of the oldest foreign auto plants in the U.S., with production starting back in June of 1983. It's also the second highest producing foreign-owned factory in the country, thanks in part to the Nissan Altima.
Not UAW.
Not UAW. They produce all kinds of things: the Pathfinder, the Frontier, the Maxima, and also the Nissan Altima. So those are the ones for the Nissan plant. Number 3 is Hyundai. Hyundai Motor Manufacturing in Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, 342,162 cars. They may be designed and engineered in South Korea, but the Hyundai Elantra and Sonata are both assembled in the U.S. The 2 million square foot factory was officially opened in May 2005. This was all built on a handshake. Number 2, we talked about it, and it was Brian from Ford. Ford Dearborn plant in Dearborn, Michigan, 343,888 cars. This is a Dodge picture, by the way. It opened in 2004. The Dearborn truck plant is home to America's best-selling vehicle, the Ford F-1 Series. Last year, they put together 323,415 copies of the F-Series, and then 473 copies of the now-defunct Lincoln Mark LT pickup. It's a 203 million square foot floor space for that particular plant.
Been there.
Now, number 1, and we talked about it earlier, the Ford Kansas City assembly plant in Claycomo, Missouri, not the Kansas City side, but the Missouri side. 460,338 vehicles. Henry Ford, who pioneered the moving assembly line, would surely be proud to see Ford Motor Company factories on this list. If you go to the top 10, Ford's on there 3 times. General Motors only on there once. It is a 4.7 million square foot plant. It also produces all of the Ford F-Series. That's the Rouge plant right there. Look at that healthy thing there, boy. I tell you what. Don't you want to go there and breathe that air?
Well, I'll tell you what. The time that I went there, it was a new plant. They had torn down the original Rouge River plant, which was the actual first plant that Henry put together. Right there across from Windsor, Ontario. And they made the frames. They cut the wood. They made the glass.
Produced their own electricity.
Yep. And formed their own steel and they did everything at the Rouge River Assembly. Now,
and that's why the river was red, because they dumped all that waste into the river.
And all of the property is still there, although there's a lot of it that's not used anymore, because you could just imagine all those other factories that supplied it, the Rouge River factory, that they just took up a lot of space in this part of land.
Well, and then in the Texas area, we have Arlington Assembly Plant that builds GM utilities.
And they're about to expand.
And Suburban, And then the San Antonio plant for Toyota builds Tundras and Tacomas.
Yep.
And then there's a plant in Shreveport, Louisiana as well, which is just across the Texas border.
And don't leave out the Tesla plant.
Yeah, you could do research. You could get the top 50, the top 20, whatever you're looking for in that category of what information you need. I did 6 for time.
So it's going to have an impact on Texas as well. The strike is. They say for every employee on strike, there's 6 to 10 ancillary people who are impacted by it.
Yep. I believe it. Hey, the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeart Radio app. Just look for In Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts at your fingertips on over a dozen of the most popular podcast outlets. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Lupi Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Lupi Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Lupi Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Lupi Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Lupi's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggieland? Head to the Lupi Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Lupi Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants invites you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWillTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Live from Studio A, it's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we speak with CEO of PontoSense, a company that develops sensors for your vehicle. Conrad's going to have the In Wheel Time Car Clinic, and we'll have this week's Auto News. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us on this Saturday. Boy, we had some big thunderstorms here yesterday. Not here, but about a mile from here.
Yeah, I didn't get a drop, but they said my office up in the Woodlands got hammered.
Yeah, we got nothing. So, Alex, how do you pronounce your last name?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. How do you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, it's pronounced chi.
Chi.
Like the energy inside the body.
Yeah, chi. Even though it's spelled QI.
Well, they made it complicated on purpose, I'm sure.
So, Alex, accomplished visionary industry leader with relentless passion for revolutionizing the automotive landscape, chief executive officer at PontoSense. Tell us what PontoSense is and how you started this thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. First of all, I hope you guys are staying dry. I know what it feels like to be in a thunderstorm. It's not always pleasant.
Yeah, exactly.
But we focus on in-cabin safety. So we built a sensor that can measure movements, if you believe it or not, as small as a heartbeat. So just for those keeping, science at home there, it's 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters that we can measure. And for reference there, a grain of salt is 0.3 millimeters. So we're measuring movements on your body as small as 0.3 millimeters in a vibrating environment from maybe a meter or so away.
This is truly amazing. I had no clue. So what would you use a sensor for something like that for?
Well, it's a great question because there's a use case right now, and there's also a use case that they're looking at going forward. The use case right now is really a safety use case, right? So it's like an airbag kind of safety device. But the issue in the States is that, a child every week on average dies from being left alone in a hot car.
Absolutely.
Right. This is a big issue that I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about. Yep. So we are the first sensor in the world to be able to pass Euro NCAP regulations for in-cabin safety for child left behind. But the interesting thing for a lot of these OEMs going forward is going to be, what this technology can really bring as an addition. And that's really around a lot of driver monitoring, passenger monitoring. By analyzing the metrics within vital signs, we can understand, your drowsiness, motion sickness, alcohol consumption, things like that. But it's really meant to keep you safe. So, this is integrated into systems that allow, for example, a telecommunications company to reach out to me and say, hey, listen, are you okay to drive? We'll keep an eye on you. So, so if something does happen, we'll get someone out there, as soon as we can. So these are just safety features going forward that OEMs that we work with are looking into.
Well, one of the first things that comes to my mind is the fact that there's a lot of bad PR right now about, Big Brother looking over your shoulder and all of the information that the car is giving manufacturers or the government or whoever it is that has access to this stuff. But let me just say this. I fly in a helicopter pretty much every day. And I will tell you that in a helicopter, I want somebody looking after me. And the ramifications of the information that your car supplies is pertinent to me, that you have information being sent somewhere about your behavior behind the wheel. If you're drunk, I don't want to be anywhere around you.
Yeah, because just because they're sensing you doesn't mean you're not impacting others.
Right. And everybody takes it so personally, but when you get behind the wheel of a vehicle of any kind, you're putting everybody else at risk.
In jeopardy.
Based on your behavior. And that's where you guys come in.
Absolutely. And I think also, just to add on top of that, right, the other way they're doing it already today is with cameras. And listen, like, you know, I sing in the car and probably do even weirder things in the car. So you want to have a privacy, because I don't care if it's you or somebody else, right? I just care that somebody behind the wheel is going through something. And there's a lot of things that car companies will do today, like, you know, I think, you know, OnStar and those type of things as well, that will check in on you, just make sure you're safe. I think that's really the main thing. And I'd rather have something check in on me that's privacy protecting than something that's going to record my audio and video at the same time. So I think you're absolutely right. It's keeping yourself safe. It's keeping other people safe. And that's kind of where things are going, especially as the car becomes autonomous, right? If you hand back an L3 type of vehicle on the highway, and you know you're motion sick like crazy, are you going to be able to take back that control? Those are just different things that, you know, OEMs are aware of these days.
Yeah, because I don't think that most people realize that cars today are a lot different than they were just a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And matter of fact, I'm driving a car right now. It's a beautiful car, and I'm going to review it in a couple of weeks, but I will tell you that the car is brand new. Yeah, I mean, it's only got a couple thousand miles on it. However, the technology that's in the dashboard is old. I've got 2 video screens in there. One is for the navigation on it. The rest of it is for the audio. The infotainment system down below. Who does that anymore? Nobody does that anymore. And that car is a relatively new car as far as development is concerned. So things moving along at a really fast pace.
Well, and think about it. Now you have car manufacturers that are advertising, oh, take your hands off the steering wheel and let the car drive for you, you know, and now, you know, you're not active, and that's where your sensors are going to come in as far as, you know, monitoring who the driver is and what they're doing, and are they truly paying attention? I know the OEMs talk about, we have these eyelid sensors out there that are they're watching you, but you know, yours is much more intense level of monitoring the physical movement and motion of the passenger and driver of the vehicle.
And it doesn't know who you are. Like, it doesn't need to know who you are, right? I think that's, listen, if I'm driving and someone's watching my eyelids, I'm not feeling great, right? So, but really, I think also breaks down to kind of what these car companies are looking into, right? Because I think, you know, you mentioned all these technologies going into vehicles, and I absolutely agree. You know, they only move for 2 different reasons, right? They only move because the government tells them to move, or they move because they can, you know, make more profit. Right. And, you know, there's a big push towards multi-use sensors. So instead of having a weight sensor, an airbag sensor, a, you know, privacy sensor, all these different things, why don't you just have one sensor that covers everything, right? So that's kind of where, as we deploy into vehicles, and you know, we just, you know, confirmed another 200,000 on the road. But as we deploy more into vehicles, the multi-use piece of it is really, really critical, because they got to make some money. And right now, you know, this is maybe a timely point, but right now it's what's happening with the, you know, UAW, of course, and everything that people are seeing around the country. You know, profit questions are going to come into play, and if they can make more money, and they can give some of that money to, you know, to the unions and the workers as well, then everybody wins in the end. So profit is a big part of it as well for these large car companies.
Well, and in what you're building, you just talked about is, you know, why have 17 different sensors in a car that all kind of trying to do one thing, where that requires 17 different SKUs or 17 different part numbers, where your sensors can be one sensor that's going to be able to do multiple tasks and eliminate those other 17 that are in the car, simplify it in production, simplify it in inventory as well. That there's a cost savings to the OEMs on that. Are you already working with some of the OEMs?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we launched in Europe first as our first market. There's a bunch of EVs working with it there as well. The ICEs are just, you know, a couple years behind, but they'll get there as well. You know, we're doing about 200,000. There's a bunch of, you know, metrics now that we're estimating how many lives we've saved with this technology in terms of children, things like that as well. So, we're actually, absolutely hoping to do more. And the entire production process in automotive used to be like 5 to 7 years, right? They used to plan for like a model in like 2030 or something, but now they shortened that to about 1 to 2 years. So you will see a lot of these, life-saving, child-saving, driver-saving type of technology in the market sooner than later.
What are you working on today?
Today, we're building a lot of AI into the system. So what we mean by that is, we collect a lot of, your vitals, again, all anonymous, all privacy protected, all locally stored. We don't use cloud computing. We don't use any of that kind of stuff. So it's all kind of housed within the vehicle itself. But if I tell you your heartbeat, that's not going to give you any information, right? I need to tell you more about, hey, are you at risk for a certain type of accident? And I think that's something that we are actively working on here in Ontario. We've got a couple of offices in Toronto, in London, Ontario, and Waterloo, and also with our AI lab in Tokyo, is all kind of putting these pieces together where, instead of saying your heartbeat's 65, that doesn't tell you anything. But let me tell you, hey, you have a 30% chance that that you're going to fall asleep in the next 2 hours if you keep on this drive. And that's kind of what that predictive analysis is going to be able to bring. And
so how do you get to that? I mean, I understand that your sensors are much more attuned to what's going on. I mean, I'm envisioning you actually being able to tell if I stop breathing behind the wheel.
Yeah.
I mean, because my chest isn't moving or anything like that. So if I just held my breath, you would pick it up, but you wouldn't know exactly why. And I could see that maybe, okay, this guy's not breathing, so I'm going to shut the car down, or I'm going to do something to kind of help that situation. Is that kind of where you're heading?
You could be talking, and that's also, you can't breathe and talk at the same time. So there's different reasons why you're doing those things. But I'll tell you guys, the honest transparency is that the key metric you're looking at is something called HRV. So HRV stands for heart rate variability. It's the time and space between each heartbeat. And that's, in humans, that's the fight or flight response. So to answer your question, we're looking at a bunch of different metrics. And I kind of, tune into like WebMD, is that you could be not breathing for a lot of different reasons. Some of the reasons are good reasons, right? You're relaxed, you're talking, you're having a conversation, you're not breathing. But as we go down those different things, we can then start to narrow down and understand, again, at a very high level, what is something that could be a potential risk in the vehicle.
So your sensor could pick up somebody who's having a heart attack.
We technically, yes, but we would not use that as a use case because for a lot of car companies, that's a little bit risky. I think that's coming down the pipeline. That's in the roadmap, but it's not something we're doing in the next couple of years, just because, as you can probably imagine, that's something that is going to cause, quite a bit of risk for the car companies. What we're doing for the first one, I'll give you the exact use case. It's going to be stress and comfort. You've had a rough day. You're coming back from the office. You're not feeling great. Your heartbeat, HRV, all these different metrics we have are a little bit off. Let us turn on that, whirlpool seating in your Porsche vehicle, and you're going to have a nicer ride home than you did when you're at the office. I think that's the first stage, is that comfort level, safety level. And then you get into more about that drowsiness, attention, cognitive attention, alcohol detection. In some states, maybe, even marijuana detection as well. So those are things that then, again, you're not stopping the car because that's very dangerous. But you're letting something like OnStar know. You're letting something like those systems know that, okay, there might be a risk there. Let's keep a closer eye on this person.
So would you incorporate this with any of the insurance companies?
That is part of it. That is part of it. And I think, there is, I would say, a tug of war right now in this industry. I'm sure you guys have heard it as well, is previously we all got our insurance from Allstate, State Farm, Farmers, all these different insurance companies. Right. But looking forward in the future, you may be getting your insurance from Ford and GM. And there's a reason for that. And there's a way that they're going to work together with the insurance companies to make that happen. But these are things where, we are not a company that's going to impact that ourselves directly. They have their own plans. But I really think that you need to see your premiums go down. There is a case study that came out where, if you switch to an OEM-based insurance, your insurance could decrease by as much as 40% every single month. which is nice to have.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So I think, there is this danger. I'm concerned. People are concerned that your insurance are going to go up because, hey, you're constantly stressed when you're driving, and that may be causing your insurance to go up. And then those are things that, we as an organization want to make sure that we're capturing, again, it's, potentially private and anonymous so that it doesn't know it's you as well. And you can keep those, rates a little bit lower as well going forward. It's all about repair costs, timely. I live in Canada, guys. I mean, we have a lot of snow here. I crashed my tires. It took me a month to get new tires. So insurance wise, I think you'll see a streamlining of that industry in the next, 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
The ramifications of that knowledge are unbelievable. We're talking about Jetsons kind of stuff here.
Absolutely. I mean, besides the flying cars and the talking dogs, absolutely. I think this is where we're going, right? So, but you got to keep people safe. You got to keep people safe, and you can't shut down cars. You can't make cars not start because they detect alcohol in the vehicle. You just cannot have those things happen, because there was a case, I think, a couple years ago where someone was assaulted and she ran into the vehicle and tried to get the vehicle to start, and it wouldn't start because it detected something. Those are just cases you can't have that.
They also have the vehicles that you can't start unless you have a breathalyzer test. That's on the other side of that, though.
That's a court-ordered thing.
Right.
Did you ever watch Cujo?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So right now your market is occupant detection in the rear of the vehicle. That's kind of where you're selling at the moment.
That is what the house on fire problem is going to be, right? In the U.S., it's going to come, in 2025, probably after the 2024 election. But in Europe, it's already happening. In China and Japan and around the world, it's already happening as well. So that, to your point there, that's like the government mandated, house on fire. You got to have this going forward type of situation. But these car companies are smart. They're run by really intelligent people. Yeah. So they're thinking, okay, I'll put this in if you want, but I want to do other things as well. And that's kind of where we talk about this aspect of driver safety and monitoring as well.
Interesting.
How cool.
I'm just, there's all kinds of questions, you want to ask.
Go ahead and ask.
Well, again, you mentioned privacy a couple of times. I understand the safety aspects to make sure that there's no children or somebody left in the back seat. And I'm not sure how all that works, but I don't need to know how. I just know that it works. But there was an example on one of the news shows here recently about stuff that people did in their back seat of their car and how it might be considered to be a privacy issue.
Well, yeah, I believe that it was Tesla that was spying on people having sex in the back of their car.
What?
They were showing it to the people that they worked. Hey, man, come over here and check this out.
Yeah, see what this couple's doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about, all the privacy issues and the concerns.
You gotta get around that, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want any of my video recorded. I don't want any of my audio recorded, frankly.
So the gentleman's
right? So
it's almost like David Hasselhoff and you're turning the car into KITT.
Yeah.
As far as its
Rider,
level of understanding what the driver needs and what the passenger needs are, as well as the propulsion of the vehicle.
What does NCAP mean in European language?
It's a new car assessment program, so it provides a safety rating for how safe your vehicle is.
Do we have that here in the United States? Something similar to it?
We have American NCAP here in the U.S.
I see, American NCAP. Okay, and who controls those regulations? Is it the government?
There's a bunch of people wearing ties over in Washington and Detroit making those into mandates. So there is a governing body for those type of things here in the U.S.
So you have to deal with them.
I would say that in this case, our interests are aligned. I think they also want to keep people safe on the road and
sure,
in hot vehicles. So generally, they have a guideline. But what is more, interesting is that actually car companies have much stricter guidelines than NCAP in many cases. So I'll give you an example. So in the FDA, right? If your device can measure heart rate accurate to plus minus 10 beats per minute. So if it's 65, really, but you're registering anywhere between 55 and 75. That is FDA cleared, and that's ready to go. That's what Apple Watch does, right? But OEMs, they need plus minus 5, right? They need a much more accurate system for their vehicles. So I would say the in-cap is one of those hurdles you have to get through. But OEMs are really the ones that's setting a much stricter regulation, and they're run by very smart people that have a view on these things that go in the future as well. So I would say that actually we work closer with the OEMs and the car companies to make sure that we fit what they need, and it just so happens we'll also clear the in-cap requirements.
Well, Alex, you are truly one of the smartest people that we've ever had on the program. We're not worthy, but where can we find out more information about PontoSense?
You can check out our website at pontosense.com. So that's PONTOSENSE.com. We also have an email, so contact@pontosense.com as well. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to hear from the audience as well, because I do think that there is a new era now of innovation within the U.S. automakers, and with what's happening right now with the UAW and things like that. I know that's tugging and pulling on different strings there, but I do think that there's a really bright future for this industry in the U.S., and we're happy to be a part of it.
But
and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. Truly a fascinating conversation. We appreciate it. Let's stay in touch. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely, folks. Have a nice day, and stay dry in the thunderstorm there.
Thank you. Alex Cheeve, the CEO of PontoSense.
Very cool.
A look into the future.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, time now on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show for Conrad's Car Clinic. We're still talking about fluids.
Last week we talked about transmission fluid and how the color is pretty important indicator of what's going on. Well, the same thing with brake fluid. Brake fluid should typically, when it's new, be like an amber color, a very light tan, maybe even to the point of being clear. And the reason they use brake fluid is it's what I call a force multiplier. It's the physics of hydraulics. If I have a 2-inch piston and I move it 1 inch through a line on the other end, and it doesn't matter how far away it can be, and in a car it could be 12, 14 feet away, a 1-inch piston is going to move 2 inches. So all of that force multiplying so that when I step on the brakes happen. So the fluid's a critical part of how that functions. You want to make sure that the fluid is clean. You want to make sure that the fluid's not contaminated. Brake fluid itself is hygroscopic. It's always wanting to absorb a little bit of moisture. So opening and closing your brake cap all the time is a bad thing to do, because just a little bit of humidity in there can impact that. Brake fluid has to not just transmit hydraulic force, it also has to withstand pretty high amounts of heat. If you think about a pickup truck pulling off the highway, coming up to a stop sign, those brake rotors could be 600, 700, 800 degrees
red hot.
And they're inches away from 4 or 5 ounces of brake fluid inside your caliper. So that radiating heat is going to generate the heat inside the fluid.
Yeah.
So we talked earlier before we got on the air about DOT3 fluid.
Yep.
Department of Transportation Standard 3, that's DOT3, is a boiling point of 400 degrees. So the fluid, when it boils, that becomes a problem, because now all of a sudden we've introduced air pockets in the brake fluid, and that's where that spongy pedal comes. The other problem is once it starts to absorb moisture, what happens to water at 212 degrees? It turns to steam. Mm-hmm. Now, that steam also creates a soft or a spongy brake pedal. If you watch your brake fluid color, that's going to give you an indication of when it needs to be replaced. But manufacturers know what's going on. As brake fluid becomes old, it becomes corrosive. And one of the things brake fluid does is, as it becomes corrosive, it begins to leach copper out of the inside of the system, whether it's copper out of the analog braking system or copper out of the metallized fuel or brake lines that are in the vehicle. And you see people will go in with like a little test strip to test your brake fluid. They're actually measuring the parts per million of copper. The funny thing is, Honda cars, when their brake fluid gets old, it turns green. Well, what color does copper turn
Green.
when it corrodes?
Yeah.
Green. So it's a good indication that your brake fluid needs to be changed when it starts to turn green. But different manufacturers tell you to change the fluid at different intervals, and I never really understand why everybody's variance. A lot of the Europeans say every 20,000 to 24,000 miles or every 2 years. A lot of the Asian imports will tell you every 30,000 miles. GM says every 45,000 miles you should change your brake fluid. Ford doesn't ever tell you to change your brake fluid at all. Mopar doesn't ever tell you to change your brake fluid at all. They all basically use a very similar fluid. So as the fluid ages, it needs to be changed.
What's the difference between regular, like a .3, and silicone fluid, and can you mix the two?
You cannot mix the two at all. Silicone fluid's going to have a boiling temperature generally north of 600 degrees. .3 is the factory fill for 99% of the vehicles out there. Yeah. And then there's also a .4 fluid, which has a boiling point of above 500 degrees. So the .4 fluid, you really don't see that it's factory fill anywhere, but there's a lot of places that will put .4 fluid, which is totally interchangeable with .3. But silicone brake fluid really does not exist from an OEM. That's purely on a race car. And we could talk to Richard. How often does he change brake fluid? Probably every time he races a car, he puts fresh brake fluid in it. Why? Because he has to depend on the fluid doing what it's designed to do. So you always want to have fresh, new fortified fluid inside the vehicle. So again, light amber color is normal. As it begins to darken, it's time to think about it. If it gets black, you should have replaced it already. And it'll get so black, it'll stain the inside of the reservoir. Mm-hmm. And once that happens, the only way to clean that reservoir is basically to replace it. You can't put any cleaner inside of a brake fluid. Brake fluid, you don't want to intermix with anything at all because it'll affect its performance.
Wow. Very interesting. Yeah. So I'm glad that I had my Corvette brake fluid changed a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Because it never had been, and the car's 20 years old.
Right. And with that, you also have the clutch fluid. In a manual transmission with a hydraulic clutch, that's basically brake fluid that's in there that's also exposed to pretty high temperatures down there at the clutch. So you want to make sure you're changing that clutch fluid.
I just went ahead and changed the clutch.
Yep.
So with the clutch change, there goes the fluid. Right, now it's got a little valve down there that it didn't have before.
That makes it easier to change
to do the fluid.
Right.
Yeah. Fluid flush.
Very good.
Thank you.
Fluid valve.
Okay. Time now for a quick break, and then we'll start the top of the next hour. Our next guest is already here and standing by. So stay with us. Quick break on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Lupi Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Lupi Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Lupi Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Lupi Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Lupi's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggie Land? Head to the Lupi Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Lupi Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants invites you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In-Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In-Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. From the world-famous Sugar Shack in Texas, USA.
Oh, yeah.
It's the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. And coming up, we're going to speak to Carfax about getting the most out of available data. We'll have the upcoming events calendar, Mars reviews, the new Subaru Crosstrek. At the bottom of the hour, we talk about the upcoming Texas Mile event. Plus, you'll hear the stories making automotive news headlines today. We've got Hemmings Sold Cars Roundup. It's always fun. And a pleasant Saturday to you. Howdy. Along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong, gargling his way through the intro.
There you go.
Here on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Yes, we have an hour to go. You know this is a 3-hour show.
Theoretically.
That's theoretically. Theoretically. Mars, it's theoretically. You know, if I were him, I think I'd come over here and slap me.
So.
I'm just proud he got the wording right.
the pronunciation with the emphasis on the right syllable. Yeah.
Syllable. Well, we didn't get the last guest's name correct, I guess. But you asked.
Chi.
Yeah.
And I would have said
Alex was right.
Yeah.
Alec, we got that part of it right.
What a great interview.
Yeah.
That was
good stuff.
Fascinating stuff, isn't it? Well, we're going to have another fascinating interview right now. His name is Faisal Hassan, and he's the general manager of data at Carfax. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing well. Good morning, gentlemen. It's great to be on again.
Yeah, it's good to have you with us again. So here is the subject at hand.
All right.
How consumers, car buyers, can do better used car research. Okay?
All right.
I don't have an answer to that, but I think that you probably do.
Absolutely. I mean, look, today with so many resources available to consumers, we know that they'll go to the internet, they'll go to Google, they'll do a search, and there are just so many resources out there. First of all, the consumer has to decide what kind of car they want. They want an SUV, they want a sedan, they want a pickup truck. And then they want to go and they want to look at the reviews on those cars, right? Which one do they actually want? What year, make, model are they looking for if they're looking to buy a used car? Obviously, I'm with Carfax, and I highly recommend they go to Carfax.com. We have literally millions of used cars that dealers from all over the country, thousands of dealers have posted the car. You get the free vehicle history report there, and literally millions of them that you can find. But you need to narrow down what you want to look for. You can use our site. There are great websites like Consumer Reports that you can also use to look at reliability and ratings. And then you can also use Carfax that once you pick a car and you find it on a dealer's site, you can actually look at the ratings and reliability of working with that particular dealer. We collect that information specifically from consumers who have been to that dealer. But today you go to the internet, there's just endless resources. I highly recommend Carfax, places like Consumer Reports, as a starting point.
Okay. What am I looking for specifically? Let's just take, for instance, a car that's an SUV that's 4 years old. Let's just pick a Suburban, a Chevy Suburban. It's 4 years old. It's got 60,000 miles on it. Well, okay, so here's the data, but what part of, because there's lots of data, what part of the data am I looking for? What do you think
should be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm buying a 4-year-old car that's got 60,000 miles on it, what's the first thing that tells me? It tells me car's been driven about 15,000 miles a year, which is about average, usually around 12 to 15,000 is average. I'm going to look for how many owners has it had. It's 4 years old. Am I buying it as the second owner, or has it had 3 previous owners? I'm going to look for what was its previous use. Was it a taxi cab in its previous life? Was it a rental car? Did it come off a 2-year lease and then go to another 2-year lease? So I'm going to look for those kinds of things. But the number one thing we know consumers look for, dealers, anyone, was the car in an accident? Did it have a damage event in its past during those 4 years? And that is really key. And using a Carfax report, getting a mechanic's inspection is really crucial for that. Then you want to know, has the car been well maintained? Has it had all of the key service events that it was supposed to have during that time? And if you do those things with a mechanic's inspection and a test drive, you should be in pretty good shape with that 4-year-old Suburban.
And if you're looking at 4 or 5 different ones at different dealers, now you have that ability to compare all of them against each other for which one meets all of those criteria the best.
Absolutely. And if you're comparing them side by side and you're looking at their vehicle history reports side by side, you're also going to be able to see the vehicle history adjusted value on there, which is the specific value that Carfax places on that specific car. Not all cars and not all of those 4-year-old Suburbans, but that specific Suburban, based on its history. And from there, you've got all of the information you need. But you're exactly right. You want to compare cars at different dealers and then put yourself in a good position to negotiate and try to understand why different dealers are pricing them differently.
How far back, we're talking about a 4-year-old car now. How far back does your data, how far back can I look?
1981. When the VIN became standard.
Oh my God! I don't know of a 1981 car I'd want to buy.
No, but let's say your Corvette, a 2001, 2002, 3, 4 Corvette.
That's different.
C5.
But a 1981 Corvette, hit the stop button on that.
There's nothing there.
No, but it's a great car. We actually see cars all the time with model year 94, model year 95. People are running vehicle history reports on them. You guys probably know this. The average age of the car on the road today, the vehicle's in operation, is about 12 years.
Yep.
And it's growing.
Yeah.
And, if we get this strike that takes place and you have less new cars flowing in, people are going to keep their cars longer. And we're seeing that quite a bit now, especially used car prices. We put out a press release a couple of weeks ago because we saw used car prices trend down about $600 on average per car. Now, that might change if a strike takes place and lasts, say, 3 or 4 months.
Well, but by the same token, the truck I'm driving is a 2015. I like driving that truck. It drives good. It does everything. What it's missing, though, is the new technology. And the cost to upgrade it from a number 3 to a number 5 system, for example, is just, it's a bunch of money. But the truck is holding its value because of the used car market and stuff. So I'm 9 years into it, and I'm not looking at a new one.
Okay.
I'm just saying that there's a lot of reasons to keep it, but and if I could figure out a decent way to upgrade the technology as far as the screen and the interface to it, I wouldn't even think about it.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit and ask you. There are a lot of cars on the market that are for sale that have been wrecked in the past. And when I say that, that's a general statement because a wreck can mean it wiped off the entire front end and it's been rebuilt, or it could have had a fender bender where they crushed the right front fender and got it repainted, no structural damage to the car. Would you buy a used car based on that? And people do. And what is the percentage of that?
Believe it or not, about 50% of all the cars on the road have had some sort of damage event. And we see regularly in our data that about 30 to 40% of the cars that people run vehicle history reports on have had some sort of damage event. And the great thing is what Carfax is able to do, we're able to put about a severity and a point of impact on about 95% of all of those damage events.
Oh, wow. That's big. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right on our report. Now, I will buy a used car with a damage event. I will be totally honest with you. My very first used car ever, my very first car ever was a 1980 Honda Prelude that had a huge dent in the side. And I bought it anyway because it ran great. And the guy told me it had been in an accident, and he told me what happened, and he gave me a great deal on it. And I had a mechanic. There was no Carfax, unfortunately, at the time. Actually, no 17-digit VIN either. And I drove that car for 10 years, all through college and graduate school, and until I had my first kid. So you can buy a good used car that's had a damage event. Now, if it's been totaled, it's got a salvage brand on it, I would steer away from those cars. And today with all of the flooding that's taking place, you're getting a lot of flood vehicles that are coming back in the market from Vermont and California and Florida. So being really careful is important. But there are good used cars that have had damage sustained and have been repaired the right way.
Can you walk me through the process of getting a car on Carfax? And the reason why I ask this is we just recently purchased a car. And you're out on the lot, and you're looking, where's the Carfax report? Oh, that's just came in. It's going to be on next week. What about that one? Oh, that one, we didn't have a Carfax report. So is it garbage in, garbage out at the dealer?
So look, we've got 31,000 dealers who subscribe to our service. It's rare that you could go to a dealer and not find a dealer who's providing a Carfax report.
I can take you to 4 today.
Let them call me. I'll get them on the program. The reality is today, most people who start their car search, it's not like the old days where when I bought my first car, I'd go look in the paper, I'd drive out the dealer's lots to try to figure out what they had. People are going to the internet today, right? They're going to the dealer's website, they're going to Carfax.com, and they're seeing the cars, and the vehicle history report is right there. It's there because the dealer purchased it. Right. And asked us to put it there, and you'll see it everywhere.
These dealers are on the Carfax. They have the signage. They've got the big banners. They've got all that. They're signed up. They just don't know.
It was a new car, right?
Well, no. Pre-owned. We searched for pre-owned first. There's not even Maronis on some of the new ones.
Interesting.
We work with these dealers, and the dealers pay for Carfax, so. The vast majority of dealers, one of the first things they're going to do, they're going to say, hey, I looked at this car. I inspected it. I ran the Carfax. It's got all its one owner. It's got all its service and repair history. And hey, it had a minor damage event. It was a fender bender. Look, Carfax shows you exactly right here because it helps them sell the car. And so if a dealer is buying Carfax reports and not showing them, they're probably doing themselves a disservice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk. Something. Just a moment about all of the service on a vehicle. I've got a car that's 22 years old now, and yes, I get it serviced. I don't drive it very much at all, but at least once a year, I take it in for its maybe 3,000 mile oil change and inspection and that sort of stuff. How does Carfax know that I've taken it to a car maintenance facility and had the oil changed?
So we work with about 76,000 service and repair facilities across the United States and even in Canada. And we actually go and work with the principal, the owner of the facility, with the dealer. And what we do is we tell them, look, you've got this piece of metal that's coming in and you're doing work on it and you're making it better. You're putting a new transmission in it. You're changing the oil. You're putting new brakes in it. You're updating the tires. Put that on the Carfax report. Let's show that there's value that you're bringing to this car. And so we work with all of these entities. We have a team, and I started the program with a couple of other people back in 2002. and working with dealers and aftermarket facilities. And today, you go, a car gets its oil changed, maybe gets new tires, gets the tires rotated. That night, the aftermarket shop will hit a button and send the data to Carfax. We'll put it on our report, and we'll brand them on the report. And then we'll turn around and we'll send you a note and say, hey, how was your experience? And you'll rate and review that particular shop, whether it's a dealer or an aftermarket. And we've got right there verified reviews. So it ends up not just helping the shop, but it helps the owner of the car. And when they go to sell their car, it's got that vast service and repair history showing the car's been well maintained. Carfax's history-based value just goes through the roof for that car.
How do I know that the place that I'm taking my car for the oil change is doing that?
That's a great question. One of the things you can do is download the CarCare app. The Carfax CarCare app is in all of the app stores. It's completely free. You put in your VIN, and we will track everything for you. But when you're in there, you're able to put in your zip code, and we'll show you all the shops in your zip code that participate, whether it's dealer or aftermarket, and you can choose where you go and what service that you want. You can price the service for parts and labor, all of those things. You can make an appointment, and it's all completely free. And that's usually the easiest way to do that.
And that's how my repair facility or maintenance facility actually sends the data on my car too.
That's correct. They're just sending the VIN. They hey, this VIN got an oil change, got a tire rotation, whatever happened to that particular piece of metal, they'll share that. And then we'll make it available right back to, if the owner has signed up for CarCare, it'll show up usually within a few hours, and they can keep track of their service and repair history. We'll let you know when your car needs to be re-registered. We'll let you know if you have an open recall, just about anything you need to know about that car. And this is all free. We provide this completely for free. We have about 35 million consumers who have downloaded the app and are using it every single day, put in their VIN, and we help them track the history of their car.
So I can go on this app and log in my VIN number. Will I be able to see any information about my car that's already in there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All of the service and repair history, if you have an open recall, if your car needs to be re-registered, any of those, and it's updated automatically. As soon as new information comes in, it's updated. And the really cool thing is your history-based value sits there, and you go get an oil change, scheduled maintenance, you'll see it move up a little bit. And that's pretty cool.
And if you're dealing with a dealership or a used car operator that advertises that he has Carfax, and you walk in, he says, well, I don't have it on that one yet. How long does it take him to produce that document?
Well, if it's a Carfax Advantage dealer, the reports are generated automatically, so it's usually available. Independent dealers, some of them do what we call a pay-per-VIN. So they may not be running Carfax on every single car on their lot. They may be running it on specific cars, or they may only be running it when they're buying a car wholesale. But our Advantage dealers, which is the ones who, when you walk in, they've got Carfax everywhere because they want you to know that they're being transparent, that they want the process to go well. But my gut is, based on your question, that might be one of those dealers who's only running Carfax on very specific cars.
Well, that brings to my point, because the one I'm talking about, they had all that. They had signage, they had it on the door, they had a puppet or something of that nature, and no, they were clueless.
But it only takes them minutes to get the report. I mean, I've done the pay per VIN, and I mean, it doesn't take very long to produce the report. So I don't know why anybody would say, "Oh, we can't get it."
Well, somebody's dropped the ball somewhere along the line.
Maybe a newbie that doesn't know how to do it and doesn't want to admit it.
Yeah. If you go to a shop, if you go to a dealership, used or new, and they don't want to show you the Carfax report, you probably might want to
run.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for sure.
Yeah, put on those new running shoes you got. Faisal, it's great to talk to you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate it. Great information. Carfax.com.
Show me the Carfax.
Who doesn't know about Carfax? Thank you again. We'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Take care of yourselves, guys.
You too.
You bet.
Nice.
I know. All right, time now for the events calendar.
Right.
I know of an event that we've got coming up. 2 of them, actually. We've got
Woody's.
Woody's Waterfront Car Show down in San Leon.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming up. And then we also have Autorama.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Those are 2 that I steal all your thunder. I didn't mean to.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
Yeah, he's through.
Because he's got him on the cruise in.
Northside Mustang Club, they're on their cruise. A few of them had chimed in earlier saying they were listening to us while they were on their cruise.
Oh, that's cool.
Hello, Northside Mustang Club. Enjoy yourselves. As well, Cruisin' Silsby 2023, September 29th through the 30th, Friday and Saturday night at the Kirby Memorial Stadium in Silsby, Texas. Mars, you need to be there because September 30th, you can start off in Nederland Avenue cruise and cruise from Nederland
to Main Street
and go to Silsby.
Now I'm going to cruise to San Leon to Woody's.
Okay, well, we'll see you at Woody's.
It's only 3 blocks away.
Join us for Woody's for his 5th ever show put on by Michael Woody at the, what's the restaurant?
I don't know.
Topwater Grill.
Topwater Grill in
Thank
San
you.
Leon, right out there on the water's edge.
Salads are awesome.
If you can get one.
Yeah.
Get one.
Also, October 14th is the All British Car Show at the Butler House off of Gosling Road. October 20th is the 38th annual Wolf Creek Car and Truck and Bike Show in Cold Spring. The Clear Lake Car Show at the Elks Lodge in Kemah is on September 23rd. And Saturday, October 28th, is the Oak Turbo Fest at Karam Springs in Waco. And then the 17th annual Hot Rods Heroes and Hot Rods Veterans Day Show in downtown Bastrop. We had Bill Zelag on last week talking about that. And, that's always a good show. I think they have a limit of 400 cars.
I have to tell you that the only time that I'd ever been to downtown Bastrop was last year for the Corvette Extravaganza. And it's a cute little town. But I'm always on my way to Austin.
You're on the interstate.
You drive by on the highway.
Yeah. And I'd never gone to downtown Bastrop.
Totally.
It was Bastrop. I just thought it was the highway junk shops along the way, along with some gasoline stations.
No,
it's a real honest-to-God town.
It's like 3 blocks north of the Whataburger.
That's right.
When you're driving by on the highway and you see the Whataburger, you just miss the exit. It's about 3 blocks north from there.
There you go.
Cute little town. Okay, time now for this hour's car review. Mr. Mars had a chance to drive the Subaru Crosstrek, which, I'll steal your thunder, is a gussied up Impreza. Ooh. Did you know that, Mars?
No, I didn't look at it
Well,
that
it
way.
is. It is. It's a. They've turned.
Now you do.
They turned the Impreza into
write that
an
down.
SUV.
He called him Gussie.
Gussie?
Go ahead.
Cat named Gussie. So we're talking about the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Premium. This is the 3rd generation of the Crosstrek, and it's available in 5 trim levels. You got a base, a premium, and then you get to the Sport, the Limited, and new this year is the Wilderness. I can't even read my own
wildness.
I can't even read my own writing
It's
here.
the wildness.
Yeah, the wildness. So anyway, this is a compact crossover SUV, and a lot of things are carried over. It's kind of a refresh this year. And you got front, you're going to find that there's a frameless hexagonal grille with some compact headlights. You're going to find hexagonal steering responsive
Hexagonal.
LED headlights with LED fog lights. Got a heated windshield, heated side view mirrors on it, raised roof rails. Got a sunroof, and it rolls on some 17-inch alloy wheels. Now, this is an all-wheel drive vehicle, and so a lot of this is set up for. That's the reason. One of the reasons this vehicle is so popular because of all the all-weather that it can handle in the all-wheel drive mode with the things that it's got. Now, ours, by it being the premium, it wasn't the base model, so it's up 1 notch. So we had the cloth interior seating covers, and it was the heated front seats.
Is there a problem down there?
Yeah, there's a problem over
Did you
here.
just eat some peanut butter?
So we had a really nice 11.6-inch touchscreen infotainment system that was in this car. It actually seemed really big for the vehicle that we were in. And that's where you're going to find your Subaru Starlink system. That's going to be the infotainment system, the nav, all the things that they've got in it, which is new for this year. You're going to find your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto there. Now, under the hood, this is a Boxer engine, so it's a flat type engine. We had the 2.0 liter. Now, if you step up into the upper trim levels, it is a 2.5 liter. So we had the smaller engine, 152 horsepower, 145 pound torque, backed by a CVT. Now, this particular vehicle is rated to tow 1,500 pounds. You get the bigger engine into the upper trim levels, it'll tow a little bit more. EPA says you should be looking for about 27 in the city, 34 on the highway, combined for 29. Now, I drove this vehicle 342 miles, and I got 27.5 miles per gallon in it over the course of that week.
Pretty good for your FET.
I thought it was real good, and it's a smaller engine, but I thought it handled really well as far as the power levels on it. This is a kind of a firm ride. You know, it's all-wheel drive standard. It's not a race car, but it's a very confident, inspiring driving experience. You drive it, you know, it's not going to be exciting, but you feel good about it. When you're driving it, it's going to go where you want it to go and how you want it to go there. Part of that is it's got, to me, a taller roof line. So it seems like you got a little more headroom on the inside of it, particularly in the driver's position. So the driver's view, the span of view in it, I really like that a lot better. Now, the base trim price is $27,440. Now, base model, which we were one up off of that, is $26,290. Did not have a Monroney with this one, so I don't have an exact price for this particular vehicle I was driving. If you're looking for something to compare it to, though, you're going to look over possibly at the Ford Bronco Sport that Don was talking about earlier. $31,230 is what I had down on it. The Jeep Compass is another one in that category for $28,000, and the newer Mazda CX-30 is $22,950. But again, that compact crossover SUV segment is a pretty popular segment. There's a lot of competition in there. So there's a lot of variance in the horsepower that you can get as well as the features you can get in the car. But again, if you're looking for that all-wheel drive vehicle that gives you that confidence, inspiring driving experience, the Subaru Crosstrek is one of them you can look at.
Hexagonal grill.
With a hexagonal grill.
Hexagonal grill.
I'm going to have to improve my writing. I may have to start typing it.
Or at least your vocabulary. And don't be eating peanut butter just before you read that.
Mm-hmm. You going to send that to Subaru?
I may have to edit a little bit.
Just a little.
Yeah. Clean it up a little bit. I generally don't edit it very much.
Very much, I think, is the key word there.
Depends on what we say during it.
That's right. How we can screw up his car review. We don't do it intentionally. It's just that there are things.
It comes too easy.
It does come easy.
And I appreciate all the help.
I know you do. But we wouldn't all be here if it weren't for things like that.
Mm-hmm. If it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Fun and games.
Okay. Well, we got 30 minutes left. I'm ready to go now, but I guess we'll stick around.
Suze is out.
Picked a bad day to quit drinking.
Is she out? Did I let her out?
No, she's out. Snoozing.
Oh, she's knocked out.
Suze is snooze.
Yeah, she's over there. Notice that she's found a nice place underneath the camera that you're looking at.
On the cold concrete.
On the cold concrete, because it's cool.
It's kind of like you, Don.
Well, she walked around here earlier and then just headed that way.
Yeah. She wanted to make sure everybody was in their place, which we still are. All right. Hey, not that you'd ever do this, but I just thought I'd let you know that this program is available 24/7 through iHeartRadio. Just search In Wheel Time Car Talk. Mm-hmm. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and InWheelTime.com. And 30-minute podcasts are at your fingertips on over a dozen of the most popular podcast outlets. And I know that that's the one that you pick.
And available for free in the App Store.
The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Lupi Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Lupi Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Lupi Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Lupi Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Lupi's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggieland? Head to the Lupi Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Lupi Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants invite you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In-Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In-Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Yes, it is the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show.
What?
Coming up, Shannon M. talks to us about the Texas Mile. What?
I'm telling you, we know what it is. Go ahead.
Mattis. Is that it?
That's what I think.
Okay, well, we're going to find out. Later, we're going to look at the automotive news headlines. We also have Hemmings Marketplace Sold Cars Roundup.
All right.
Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, Mr. Name, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I am Don Armstrong.
Mike is our interpreter.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Our interpreter?
He's our interpreter.
What is he interpreting?
Well, names and
names.
Yeah.
Names.
How to read stuff.
He's creating new enunciations of words.
Enunciations. That's right. Shannon, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm actually hanging out in Galveston this weekend.
Oh, lucky you. How do you pronounce your last name?
Modest.
Modest. We were all wrong.
Missed it by that much.
So you have a busy October 13th through the 15th coming up, huh?
Yes, we have a very busy October 13th through the 15th coming up in Beeville, Texas. For the Texas Mile, it's going to be our 20th year anniversary event.
Okay, so for people that don't know, what is the Texas Mile event? What is it?
The Texas Mile event, it's simple. Top speed in a mile. It's a standing start. It's for cars, and it's also for motorcycles, either one. It goes back to the heart and feel of as long as it's safe from that perspective, because you do have to pass technical inspection, but run what you brung.
Okay.
And
so
we keep it simple and straight to the point.
All right. I want to ask you, I want to bring my 2001 Corvette that now has 32,000 miles on it. I want to bring it, and I want to see how fast it'll go. Can you help me?
Yes, I definitely can help you with that.
Okay. And when you say a standing start 1 mile, is it actually 1 mile, or do I only have 1 mile to go as fast as I can go and then stop?
You have 1.5 miles, or a little over 1.5 miles. So you achieve your top speed in 1 mile, and then you have a little over 0.5 mile to shut down.
Yeah,
Okay. So, and where is this done? Is it an old airport or something?
Beetle.
Yes, it's done at Chase Field in Beeville, Texas.
Okay. And is that a working airport? I mean, do I have to dodge airplanes coming in?
No dodging of airplanes. They do have a private airstrip there, but we coordinate with the pilots and the owners of those planes. So if they need to take a flight in and out, we typically do that before and after the event each day.
And is it a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event? How does it work?
It is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. Most of the participants check in on Thursday. I call it our settling in period. Come check in, stake out your best paddock space that you can get, and get ready for the event. And then it is all out runs Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're doing about a run every minute.
A run every minute. So how many cars do you register to do this?
We have anywhere from about 175 vehicles as far as registration is concerned.
Can you do
it's both cars and vehicles.
Can you do multiple
And
runs?
cars and motorcycles.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you get in line. It is truly in the spirit of run what you brung. And you get in line as many times as you want.
Oh, wow.
There's no limitation.
How much does it cost?
Depending on if you're doing it for just Saturday, Sunday, or if you're doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it ranges from about $550 to about $650.
And every car has to go through a tech inspection.
Every car has to go through a tech inspection, and every person has to go through a tech inspection, I should say. A mental check inspection.
Yeah, you got.
Oh, yeah, because if you're going to be able to run 140 miles an hour, you better be able to drive at 140 miles an hour.
Yeah, we like to also check the, as we call it, the nut behind the wheel. And
Make sure it's not too loose.
Right, make sure it's not too loose.
So you've seen my drive.
But everybody attends a driver's meeting. Everybody attends a tech inspection, and we also have licensing qualifications.
And what are the licensing qualifications?
There's about 4 or 5 different licensing levels, and I can put you in touch with our tech inspector and our race director. But you achieve a certain speed, and then you're able to move up to a different speed level. So that we have different brackets from that perspective.
Well, how do you
starting
do?
At about 140 miles.
I was going to say, how do you
an
do?
hour.
How do you do that?
Practice.
Well, no, but I know, but I got a mile, okay, in my Corvette. I'm gonna pad the throttle, and I'm gonna go down there as fast as I can. Okay. Well, okay. I don't know how much it would be at the mile, but how you gonna stay? Hey, Don, you can't go over this. Is that how it works?
Until you get your license to go faster.
Until you get your license to go faster, and your vehicle has to also be tech inspected for certain speeds as well. If you're going over 200 miles an hour, you usually have a lot of additional things that you've added to your vehicle, and to make it go that fast. And at that particular point in time, there's also the tech inspection.
For at that level.
Well, and part of the, at Don's level, which I'm going to assume.
The old man level.
No. Just your car, I'm going to assume, is probably in the 120 to 135 range. I don't know. I'm just taking a wild guess at that. But, tires are going to be a huge part of the inspection because you can't run some old raggedy tire.
No,
at those kinds of
I got
speeds.
Z-rated tires that are what, year and a half old, Jeff? About that. So tire's not an issue.
So where does it start? I mean, is like a 120 is where you start, or 100, or I mean, if you're going to start.
No, actually, it's you can start off in the 140 to 160 range. So it's not as if we're limiting you to, highway speeds from that perspective. And I am sure that each one of you gentlemen have plenty of experience with taking your vehicles somewhere on a track. And we take that into consideration.
Oh, yeah.
If you have experience on some sort of other form of racing or drag racing, we have our race director that takes all of that type of information into consideration. That's again where we check the nut behind the wheel.
Right.
And your experience before coming to the event does count. You don't have to start from, the first licensing level if you've got some experience behind the wheel.
So you're staying with Don's Corvette. Let's say he can run a 120 to 135 like Comrade was thinking. Then he basically comes up, you check out the car, you check out him, and he's not drunk or anything like that. And he's basically ready to go.
I'm drunk on life.
Yeah. But without having to, if his car passes, everything's good on it, which it is, then he can just go run as many times as he's silly enough to run.
And have fun. Exactly.
But you're also going to get the participants with the full cage and a parachute and.
I'm not in that class.
No, I'm not saying that.
That's what I was thinking.
You're going to get those guys out there.
But then you come out there, the guy behind Don takes off, and the guy behind him comes up in his Hellcat Challenger that's capable of doing 208.
Yeah.
Theoretically. So then he would have to be a little bit different.
I think the key point is theoretically.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and actually, you're mispronouncing it in Mars Dictionary. It's theoretically.
Theoretically.
Theoretically. It's kind of like when I pronounce thesaurus.
There you go. I know what she's talking about.
Those are dinosaurs, weren't
But
they?
if you don't want to, if you're not bringing your car to run, which would be the most fun thing to do, you can also go as a spectator because you just love the sport.
No, hell no. I want to get my car on there and I want it to go.
Well, go.
Well, I will. I ain't going to cough up no $550 to do it, though.
No.
Well, but if you wanted to, though, that would be something to...
The sponsorship.
No. Don, there's 1.5 miles. So let's see how fast you can go. Okay, I'll do that.
Been there, done that.
Been there.
There's a place out in West Texas I can send you to a whole lot cheaper.
Hold my beer. Yeah, somewhere out there
Beltway 8,
Marfa. Go and I'll see a different kind of lights out there.
But
the red ones.
It could get a lot more expensive.
You would definitely see a different kind of lights out there from that perspective.
Yes.
But it's far more. The Texas Mile is far more than the participants and the speeds that they're going. There is an immense amount of camaraderie, and you gentlemen know this. You have the camaraderie right here on the radio channel that you form every week.
In some sort of sick way, yes.
But it's all in some sort of sick way, right?
Yes, it really is, yeah.
And so at the Texas Mile, we call it the heart and spirit of the Texas Mile. There is a sense of camaraderie, fellowship that all of our participants have. We've had participants that participating in our events the full 20 years.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And they actually get in line to be able to stake out. They're now reserving their paddock spaces because it is a true festival and celebration of people and enjoying their vehicles, which is what we're supposed to be able to do with our vehicles, right? Get out and enjoy them with our family and our friends and be able to see what they can do. And so in between the time that they're out on the course, they're also back in their paddock spaces, bench racing.
Yeah.
And enjoying the conversation. And then we have a few thousand spectators that come out, and it's great because they're able to get up and close and personal with the people in their cars and their motorcycles and learn about them. And they love being able to, and like they bring out their kids, and the participants will allow the kids to get in the cars, take pictures, do those types of things, and it's a true festival experience.
So
does the Texas Mile run the fastest RV?
Actually, we did have the fastest RV in Arkansas.
So how many vehicles are trailered in, and how many, like you say, just bring what you run, or run what you brung, and do you drive in? So with the paddocks,
the
are they?
The majority of our participants are running under 200 miles per hour. That is the majority of our participants and the speeds that they're running. And so typically those people are not trailering in their vehicles. They're driving them from their homes wherever they are.
Gotcha.
And bringing them to the event.
Back to the Hellcat Challenger that gets 20 miles to the gallon if you keep your foot out of it, driving out there. And then he can burn a tank of gas while he's sitting there and then drive it home.
Yeah, I had a gentleman that once told me, he said, I think it was one of those really cold states like Michigan. And he said, I drove 1,600 miles so that I could just see how fast I could go in a mile. And that was one
he's
of
from
my
Michigan, all right.
Right, that's one of my favorite quotes from a participant. He wanted to do it at the Texas Mile.
What's your fastest speed?
Because of the experience. My fastest speed was it's been 135.
Okay.
With my Corvette,
I do this because I love all of you that go out and do this and have the nerves to be able to do it.
Nerves, I wouldn't call it that. Anyway, all I can say is I think I did 100 in a quarter mile. So if I did 100 in a quarter mile,
yeah, that last 30 miles an hour comes on slowly.
I guess.
Yeah, it does.
It was third gear, and I got 6. So I don't know.
Cool.
No, I think the difference between the quarter mile and the mile, though.
Go ahead.
Aero is.
Go ahead. Yeah, you're working. Yeah, aero. That's exactly what I was about to say. You're working against aerodynamics at that particular point in time.
Well,
there's a lot of people that think, oh, I can go 100 miles an hour, in a half a mile. I should be able to achieve twice that much in a mile. It doesn't work that way.
No, I know that.
And part of that's why you see a lot of cars at the Texas Mile. They'll have all that tape on them because they want to tape over all of those little air gaps.
Yeah, nooks and
because you
crannies.
sure don't want 120 miles an hour
have
air.
a blowover in Mom's Buick.
Get underneath a hood.
I've seen it happen.
Or a fender, and all of a sudden it pops off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tub it out.
So
yeah,
but lots of fun.
I think it'd be interesting.
Now, it is a lot of fun. We're having a Texas barbecue.
Is there beer?
Can't drink and
in
drive.
the evening time.
In the evening
can't
time.
drink and drive.
No,
Yeah,
I
in the
understand
evening
that.
time.
I just checking.
Yeah.
Making sure that all the rules are in place.
So
typically it's not a really alcohol related
No,
festival,
it shouldn't be.
except for in the evening time where people do get to enjoy a drink or two.
when the bench racing gets serious. So
Yes, that's when the bench racing does get serious.
So for the 20th anniversary, what all have you got? Some special things you're going to be doing?
Yeah, it is in the evening time. So people are still, the special thing is that they're able to be there together with people that they have known over a few decades, which is pretty incredible. But during the evening time on Saturday evening, we are hosting a party. And we do have, and we can send the link out, but people are pre-purchasing tickets for that evening party that we're going to be doing on Saturday evening, which is going to be Texas barbecue.
Okay. Very
Nice.
good.
Getting hungry.
I'm making a note of that right now.
And I'll send you all the links so you're aware.
So, and is that, so I guess then that's open to spectators or anybody that just wants to
It's open
party
to
hardy?
anybody that wants to come in and celebrate with us 20 years. For a family-run motorsports event, it is pretty. I'm very humbled at the fact that we have been able, and we have fought hard to be able to keep the event alive for our participants. That's what energizes us, is being able to do good things for the community. It makes a huge difference to the community. The amount of money that comes into the community over a weekend's time is about $2 million each weekend.
Wow.
That we host an event. That makes a difference to a community. And then our community of participants that come literally from all over the United States, Canada. We have people that actually come from abroad. And and a handful of people that come from abroad, and to be able to come together twice a year and enjoy this. And we've been doing this for 20 years. I am humbled by the fact that we have been able to continue this community of people that enjoy, that just want to get out and enjoy their vehicles, whether it be a car or a motorcycle. And we've been doing it for 20 years now.
So do people actually stay on site, like in an RV?
Camping,
I guess?
Yeah, so there's a combination. People come in with their RVs and they do stay on site. Now we have people that come in with their RVs and they stay at the hotel. And we have tons of people that just come in and they don't have an RV and they stay at the hotel. But the reason that some of the people with the RVs, they just want a place during the daytime to go to, but they don't want to concern themselves with water and different things of that nature. And they want to go and stay at the hotel.
What's the date? What's the date again, Shannon?
It is October 13th through the 15th.
Okay.
In Beeville, Texas. Beeville, Texas. Not Belleville, Beeville.
Yeah, and not Needville.
And not Needville, yes.
Shannon, do you have a website, or where do people go to register and stuff?
Yeah, so it's texasmile.net.
Okay, texasmile.net. Well, we love talking to you. Best of luck in October. And by the way, my car's rated at 175 miles an hour top speed. It doesn't say how long it takes to get there, but I would imagine it
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Well, it's got a calendar. It's got a calendar that
not the date, the top speed on a mile. I don't know what that would be, but the top speed period is 175 miles an hour, according to Google. So there's that. All right, Shannon, great to talk to you, my friend.
Enjoy Galveston.
Great to talk to y'all.
Yeah, y'all have a good time down there.
I'm going to definitely enjoy Galveston this weekend with my family.
Sounds good. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see.
That would be a good place to go sometime.
Galveston?
No, Texas Mile.
Oh, yeah, it'd be fun if you're participating.
Yeah.
I would have to drive whatever
I'm not. No,
had.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to go and sit there and watch people go down the track for a mile.
No. I would have to drive something, but I also think the like she's talking about.
I think you need to drive the in-wheel time truck.
Well, I was wondering about that.
Let's see that camper cap go blowing right off.
See what speed it comes over.
And the wrap flapping in the wind behind.
I have a vision of that in my mind. Well, there goes the cap. Up there goes the entire artwork off the side of the car. That would be perfect.
Mike's
get it on film.
On.
Time now for the sold cars roundup from Hemmings. Jeff, this is for you. Right out of the bat, I got two cars.
All right.
Okay. What do you think a 1977 Cadillac Coupe de Ville would cost today? What would it sell
77?
for? A 77
$5,000.
Yeah, I'll say 9.
This one here is 25.
2,500.
25,000. Okay, here's one. 1984 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz.
Ooh. 84?
An 1984, yes.
$6,000.
12.
12 is what I was thinking.
$5,100.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jeff wins.
Jeff wins that one.
Lucky.
All right. Let's see. Remember the square headlight Jeep Wrangler
Yes.
that everybody
83,
JT or whatever.
I don't know. 1989 Jeep Wrangler with the square headlights. You want to guess how much that thing?
$4,000.
$12,000. Wow. Nope. 1964 Chevy Corvette. And it looks like it may be a coupe. I don't think it's a
$30,000.
convertible. 33,000.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Here's one for you, Conrad. A 1981, and you should be driving this. A 1981 Oldsmobile 98.
Oh, man, that's an awesome car.
A Regency Brougham?
It looks like it, yeah.
With a diesel?
I don't know about that.
81 diesel was available. I'd take one.
Okay. How much?
$12,000.
$3,000.
$12,000.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it probably weighs 12,000 pounds based on what I'm looking at here. 1968 Plymouth Roadrunner.
Ooh.
$39,000.
I was going to say 34, but
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or 78 Pontiac Trans Am.
31.
Spot on.
18.
31.
Really?
31.
He's reading it over.
Here's
his
one for
shoulder.
you,
I
Mars.
haven't seen it.
Mars gets to bid on the 1954 Chevrolet Del Rey.
Chevrolet Del Rey.
Uh-huh. How much would you go for that?
2,800.
No. I'm
54.
thinking 9.
Yeah, I'll say 12.
21.
21,000.
Yep. Conrad, 71 Olds Cutlass Supreme convertible with red fender wells.
16.
35.
73.
Wow.
73,000.
Red fender wells indicates a W30, but it wouldn't be. It would be a 442.
It would that may be. That's why it's so high
Or a
priced. I don't know.
shaker can of red paint.
Yeah.
Hey, we forgot to ask her about last year, the 160 mile an hour red Supra at the Texas Mile.
What about
From Indiana or Ohio or whatever?
Yeah,
The high school
from
team.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm looking at the results from last year, and it's posted.
I'm betting she doesn't really know too much about that.
I would hope
Yeah.
not.
That was a
Not
big
at her
fiasco.
level.
We had the guy on the air. What was the brouhaha about that?
They
He rented it.
They picked it up on a rental.
They picked, they
He blew his up on the way down, and he rented it from a rental car.
yeah.
Oh,
So
my
some
God.
of these people were running Corvettes at 160 miles an hour.
See, I think that mine would probably do 160. Am I driving at 160? Hell no. I'm not doing
Well,
that.
it wouldn't take but a few minutes. I mean, you'd be up there and then you'd be back off of it. So it wouldn't be that big a deal.
Okay. Well, give me a few runs to get used to that because
Rums or runs?
runs.
Okay, just check.
2002 Lexus SC 430. It's a convertible. 2002,
$7,000.
10 grand. That's that little sports car thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm done with that. Cadillac hopes to attract younger buyers to the CT5 midsize sedan with updated exterior styling and the addition of more technology features. The freshened CT5 will enter production next spring at the Lansing Grand River Assembly Plant in Michigan if it's not on strike. And there you have it.
Kathy actually looked at Cadillacs.
Did she?
Yep.
Yeah, and you probably goaded her into it, didn't
No, she actually did it on her own.
Okay. All right.
And
Quick-
bought a Lexus instead.
Yeah. Quick break now here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. We'll wrap things up after this. The original group of Loopy Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Loopy Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Loopy Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Loopy Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Loopy Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Loopy's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggie Land? Head to the Loopy Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Loopy Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Loopy Tortilla restaurants invites you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Okay, Granny, wave. That's it for this week's 3-hour In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. When you're online, follow us on Facebook, give us a like, tell your friends about us, share our junk if you would, please. And we'll keep you posted on all things automotive all week long, including new car reviews, upcoming events, cruise-ins, racing events, and car, truck, and SUV goodies. You can find the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show 24/7 on iHeartRadio and our live video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. Every Saturday, 8 to 11. Daily 30-minute podcasts are available on your podcast depository.
Alrighty.
The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is David Ainsley. Our Marketing Advertising Advisor and Video Technical Director is We Need More, Jeff Zekin. For Booking Agent and Zoomy Professor Mike Mars, Mr. Know-It-All, his Royalty King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. Please join us again next week for another live, award-winning production of the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, Saturday, September 23rd, on all of our In Wheel Time Car Talk outlets, right here on the famous Smoke and Mirrors Network. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.